Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. You can find me on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. Spelling GaelanTrombley. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. Welcome, everybody. This is episode 172 of the Galen Trombley Show. My guest today, I'm really excited because I have not seen or talked to this man in over a decade, because we established this before you came in. And you were one of my favorite professors at Plattsburgh State. And from what I remember of you back then already, in the last probably 10, 15 minutes you've been here, nothing seems like it's changed, except we've probably gotten a little older, but that's about it. So my guest today, Jason Lee, he is a distinguished teaching professor of accounting at SUNY Plattsburgh. I won't give too much away. I'll let him do most of the talking, but Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you. My honor here.
And this is you said your first podcast experience.
Oh, yes.
But you've listened to a few.
Probably 6, 7, 8 of them.
Now, taking mine off the table, have you ever listened to other podcasts? Or you not into podcasts?
Well, actually, I listened to some podcasts in the past, but most of them, they are related to sometimes something on CNN, I remember, or some websites. And beyond that, I have some podcasts probably from... Yeah, they're all over the place online.
Okay, so fine. So Jason, for people that do not know you, tell us who you are. Give us a little background of you.
Okay, I'm. That's very interesting. My family history has been very, very complicated. All right. First of all, I came to the United States in 1998, and I'm an immigrant, and I came to United States for getting a PhD degree in accounting. And thereafter, I decided to stay in the USA. So I've been traveling relocated from Ohio to Louisiana and then to New York State. So everything, actually, I moved here around 16 years ago. So I've been living in North Country and in Plattsburgh area for 16 years. Unbelievable. Time flies.
Do you like it up here?
Well, actually, this place is quite similar to my hometown.
Your hometown,
yeah.
Where? Back in Taiwan?
Back in Taiwan, yeah. Actually, I come from Taiwan, and I'm not even from the city area of Taiwan, so I'm from the country area of Taiwan. So my hometown is basically a tourism city.
Okay.
In eastern Taiwan, a rural area, but it's very beautiful, just like this area in Plattsburgh.
Does it get cold?
Well, it's opposite. It's subtropical weather. So It's funny that it's right beside West Pacific Ocean, so you can sometimes see some coconut trees, in southern area, but you can see the snow on the mountain.
Is Taiwan south of Japan?
It's right between
Japan and Korea.
Japan and it's actually between Japan and Philippines.
Okay.
So it's have you heard of Okinawa?
Yeah.
Yeah, Okinawa is between Taiwan and Japan.
Taiwan.
Yeah.
And
so
is that it? And my geography of Eastern Asia is that an island?
Yeah, that's an island. Yeah, it's about the size of 30% of New York State.
70%. Okay.
30%.
Oh, 30%.
Yeah,
now,
30%.
Is that its own country?
Well, that's a complicated question. So whenever I talk about this one, people depends on the listeners, my audience. Yeah.
Okay.
Chinese audience, they will be mad at me because I would say, yes, we are independent. Yeah, yes, we are independent because we have our own government and we have our own troops, everything. No influence of Chinese communists.
This is Taiwan.
Yeah, this is Taiwan. So it's a 100% democratic country.
Just same as the States for the most part. Kind of the same level of government.
Actually, I believe that our democratic system is better now than the United States.
It probably is, because the United States has been a little crazy the last few years. So I believe that. But Taiwan, is Okinawa part of Taiwan, or is that, again, like I said, my geography is terrible. So Okinawa is its own island.
Yeah, Okinawa is a much smaller island, but with the U.S. Air Force over there, and probably 1 hour to 2 hours away by boat from Okinawa, that would be Taiwan. And Taiwan is a huge island. It has ancient name Formosa.
Say it again.
Formosa. Spanish people.
Okay.
Spaniards, they call Taiwan Formosa.
And what's Mosa?
Yeah, Formosa.
And what's that?
That means beautiful island.
Beautiful island. Okay.
Yeah, beautiful
So
island.
how big is Taiwan geographically?
That's 30% of New York State.
Oh, that is 30%.
Yeah,
I thought that was
30%.
Okinawa. That's
No,
not.
no.
Okay.
Okinawa is probably, I don't know, maybe 2%.
So Taiwan, you can pretty much get across Taiwan in maybe 3-4 hours.
Yeah, from northern tip to the southern tip, probably 5 hours to 6 hours driving.
Okay. So you pretty much explored most of the island when you were living there.
Well, it's not easy to explore the whole island because 70% of Taiwan, they are mountain areas.
Okay.
Yeah, so you really have to go there and climb the mountain. For example, in the subtropical weather, you will see something, just like Philippines, pretty coconut trees, those type of place.
Mm-hmm.
But also you can see the mountain. They are like 3 kilometers, more than 3, almost 4 kilometers high.
Okay, so 4 kilometers. We're probably looking at about 10,000 feet. Is that about right?
Yep.
Okay.
Something like
Trying
that.
to do the math here. Kilometers about 0.6 miles, right?
Yeah.
And then 5,000. So you're looking about 3,000. Yeah. Okay. So that's 10 to 12. So those are pretty high mountains.
Very high mountains.
We could talk about the high peaks here. So about double the high peaks.
Double high peaks, yeah.
Now, are you a hiker?
Well, I did that when I was in college.
Okay.
I remember that I wasn't prepared. Just my friend actually asked me, say, we're going to climb that mountain. I said, what mountain? They say, the highest one. I said, okay, I'm going to join you. And guess what?
There's your train, by the way, Jason.
Yeah. I wasn't prepared at all for that trip. I didn't bring anything. I saw that everything's going to be as hot as the weather, summer weather, on our college campus. So I went there with nothing prepared. So as soon as I get to the top of the mountain, I got headache.
Because it's just because the air and the elevation.
The air, just elevation.
Lack of oxygen.
Yep, and I couldn't breathe well because it's so, those high mountain things, they make you feel sick. So I was there. So that was unbelievable experience. And what's funny, that after I returned to campus, I almost failed my midterm exam.
Really?
Because I wasn't prepared.
So how long did it take you to hike up that mountain?
Well, it's like you have to live on the top of the mountain for 1 night. So I will say the duration. Actually, you start from the middle of the mountain, not at the bottom.
Okay.
So it's basically a bus will
base
take you.
camp is there?
Yeah, base camp is there. So you have to go to the top. I would say that the back and forth probably 10 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
But with 10 hours at a high elevation, so it's hard to breathe, and you have the oxygen deprivation and everything else.
Yep.
Okay, so.
But I never regret. I almost failed that test. That was the best experience in my life.
So it was worth almost failing the test.
Yeah, it's worth failing the test.
So obviously you're a very smart man, and you've learned a lot. I mean, has school learning, education always been a high priority in your life?
Well, it has been a high priority in my life, but be honest with you, the reason why become a good teacher is because actually I struggled so much before.
As a student?
As a student, yeah.
So when you were a child, like school just didn't come easy to you?
Well, it's funny. My mom was an elementary school teacher, so for elementary school level, I was pretty good. And I'm a person that I like to read stuff, so I'm very good at reading. So I enjoy reading, and but my problem with my education in Taiwan was, it was a very competitive environment. So when I talk about competitive, then let me start with a little bit of history about Taiwan. In Taiwan, actually, a lot of people don't know that actually Taiwan was a former colony of Japan before the end of World War II. Japan occupied Taiwan for 50 years after they took it over from Chinese dynasty. So a lot of my teachers, they were trained by Japanese teachers.
And Japanese is a history of education and learning, right?
Yep, okay. They are trained by Japanese teachers under Japanese Empire before World War II. You know how they behave.
So they were very strict, very detail or results driven. I'm assuming
Result driven. And for example, I have a teacher that if we see something on the ground, a treasure on the ground, okay, nobody admit treasure on the ground. Who did it? Nobody say anything. 5 minutes later, we have a chair all on the top of our head. We have to raise the chair for 10 minutes for punishment.
That must have been fun.
Oh, that was a lot of fun.
Little kid holding up a desk.
Yeah. And one time, let me tell you, I remember I scored like a 97. It was like a top 3 in the whole class. Okay? And the teacher will punish people based on the questions you missed. I answered all the difficult questions correctly, but I missed one easy one. I got hit that day.
Really?
Yeah.
Now what's because I've heard this, the Asian culture with school and everything. It's just you find that there's a lot of brilliant people that come out of Asia in regards to education, in regards to professors, and regards to teachers, and do you think it's the high standard? Do you think that there's something to be said about possibly I think the level of accountability, they set the expectation, hold you accountable to it, and then really don't kind of let off the gas a little bit. Like it's very very much like, I guess, stemming for perfection or excellence. Like you guys, you learn, but again, in 97, you still have improvement to do. So they want to keep you to that high standard.
Well, that would depends on actually is a transition of culture. I would say nowadays in Asia, the new generation teacher, they are much nicer. They're probably just like United States teachers nowadays. Yeah, but in my time, actually, we have around that time, Taiwan was environment. It's a mixture of a Japanese culture and the Chinese culture, and so our teachers they are teaching in a way that will make us very accountable. So when we go to school, actually it was very, very high pressure environment. Let me tell you what kind of pressure you have. Yeah. Okay, in the 3rd year of my middle school, in order to prepare us for getting into high school, okay, we have simulation exams. After every simulation exam, every kid's name will be posted on the board with the first person with the high score to the last person with the lowest score.
Okay.
So everybody know where you are ranked in your class.
So, and I'm assuming that just led to competition amongst your peers.
Yes, but also that's kind of like it's so much pressure on kids too. Mm-hmm. And I never enjoyed that. But let me give an example about it. Actually the first year of my middle school, I got some trouble into learning my math, because my teacher actually didn't talk about details about a lot of things. And also the whole class actually started in the summer before the middle school officially starts. But I wanted to go somewhere to have fun, so I didn't attend the preschool program. So that gave me a lot of trouble. Let me tell you a lot of funny thing there. The first week of my class, my teacher gave me an IQ test. Okay, IQ test, all right?
Yeah.
And they use the IQ test to determine which class you're going to be assigned to. So basically, they divide students into 2 different batches. Better student and worse students.
And where were you, Bob?
The funny thing is I took it so seriously because I'm like, okay, I must prove that I have a good IQ. So I did it so seriously, I totally forgot the time.
You forgot the what?
I forgot it's timed.
Oh.
So when I answer everything so perfectly, they say time is up. I still have 20%. I have never answered.
Oh.
So they put me in a better student group, but it's kind of like a middle of the better student group. So the teachers start having some fun with me. He's like, well, this guy probably not smart at all. Yep. And one time, the first year was horrible. Yeah, that was. I keep thinking about it. That probably was the reason why I became a better teacher, because I know the pen to be treated like that in a bad way.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, one time after my English test, Okay. That teacher, for some reason, he didn't like me. So he asked me to chew my own exam paper.
Eat your paper?
Yeah. He asked me to eat my paper.
Because of
He said,
punishment?
yeah. He said, eat that in front of the public, in front of other students.
Because you didn't do well in the test.
I didn't do well, yeah. And for a particular reason, he just didn't like me. So I went home with tears on my face.
How old were you?
Oh my goodness, I was, that was the first year of middle school.
So you're, what, 12, 13?
Like that, yeah. I went home and I didn't tell my parents. I was crying on the way, and guess what? Then I make a decision. I say, I don't need a teacher. So from that day, my parents actually don't realize what happened. But
still to this day?
Yeah, they didn't realize. I never tell my mom, or my dad, because my dad was a military officer. He probably would kill my teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't tell my father and my mom. So I get all my books, everything I missed. I study on my own. I sleep only 5 hours per day.
And you were just cramming in information, learning as much as
Yeah, I just learned everything on my own. So I try to figure out the best way to do that. So actually, 2 years later, my name on that list of simulation exam was going from like the middle area to the top 3.
Really?
Yeah.
So okay, so first off, was that common for teachers to do that back then?
Back then, it was very common. Actually, they put sticks on the back of our nation's founding fathers' portrait. That's the best place for them to hide their sticks.
Oh, they hit you with?
Yeah, they use those sticks to hit you. Yeah, that was the time in Taiwan.
And is that still acceptable today in Taiwan?
No,
okay.
Teacher probably will lose their pension.
Okay, so I was just wondering because back in the day, like people, you always hear about the old Catholic school teachers hitting you with rulers, and we used to have a teacher that would throw sponges at people and would fall asleep in class, and we'd literally just he would wet it and just chuck it at them, so you start to look at what you could do back then versus now. That obviously, like if you even scold a child, and I think generational is different. Like you're the same. And I was kind of the same way. I was more upset if I got in trouble in school. I was more upset that my parents would be upset.
Okay.
I think what you just said. Like it was like I didn't, and my knowing my parents back then, I don't think they would have cared. Meaning like not of me getting in trouble. They wouldn't have cared if the teacher scolded me because I would have been. My parents weren't very. They would keep me accountable, and they weren't disciplinary, very hard and very strict, but they were get your work done, be a good person, don't do something stupid that would cause you to come have your teacher say you did something dumb. So luckily I didn't do a lot of dumb stuff, but every once in a while you're a kid, you get in trouble, and like I said, the thought of mom and dad finding out was way worse than any teacher. And I think nowadays it's the opposite. It's like kids get pissed at the teacher, and then all of a sudden they go home and tell mom and dad get mad at the teacher, and I'm like, well, the kid did something wrong. Most of the time, there's always 2 stories, and usually kids are kids. They do something dumb, and it's like, okay, why would the teacher scold you out of all the other kids? So back then, kind of the same thing. It's like he did something, which just seems outrageous that it was based on test results back then.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm talking I did something dumb, meaning I said something wrong or I, beat a kid up or something. That would be the one you get in trouble for, not my grades. But that's what I'm saying. So school for you guys was held... grades, performance, that was held very high amongst the teachers, amongst the community, amongst the, I guess just that culture, right?
Yes, because in our culture, actually, the only way for kids to be successful was to get a high score in the exam and then get into good high school, get into good college. So that was a situation around that time, because it was not easy to get into good college at that time. But nowadays, it's totally different, even in Taiwan.
And this was what years, roughly?
Okay, my high school probably it was 1980 to 90.
80 to 90?
Yeah, 80 to 90.
Now, when you had... So this issue with the paper and eating the paper and the teacher and stuff. This was like a turning switch for you of just like, I'm going to buckle down. I'm going to self-teach myself. I'm going to be a lifelong student and make myself or force myself to learn.
Yes. Actually, that was the best training later in high school. Let me tell you something interesting. You know, in the first year of high school, my physics teacher actually, one day, he wanted to see that if we listened to his lecture in class. So he gave us a pop quiz. A pop exam, actually. It was a big exam, but it's like a pop exam. So I scored the highest. And this physics teacher asked me, Jason, why did you do it? How can you be so good? I say, well, because when I self-study physics in middle school, I grabbed a book from the bookstore. I didn't realize that it was already the high school level.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I didn't realize that. So actually, probably it's not because you really lecture it. It's because I already know that very well.
So do you find, are you still this way today? You're just like, you love to learn, you love to research, you love to just...
Yeah, I do a lot of things actually on my own. Actually, I enjoy having good teachers, but I use teachers to answer my questions.
Like, and this is your peers now at SUNY? Like, would you go to professors at SUNY and at Plattsburgh and ask them questions?
Well,
there's a lot of smart people within the college, you know what I mean? Just They really know their stuff.
Yeah, I don't really ask them something, I ask people about something in their areas too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but for accounting or something I'm interested, I like to do research on my own first. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I will check with people to see their opinions about the subject I'm interested in. So from junior high, so how was the rest of your high school career? So you went from junior high. Is it the same in Taiwan? Is it high school? Yeah, high school. We have 3 years high school instead of 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, but our elementary school, it is actually 6 years.
So it's a little bit longer.
Yeah, a little bit longer. And our high school, actually, I'm okay with high school. Yeah, and I've been a good student in high school, and I don't really find it particularly difficult. But the only thing was, in the third year of my high school, at the beginning of the third year, my family just moved away from my hometown.
Because you were with them?
No, actually, I decided to stay.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but that was a big mistake because
And you were what, probably 17, 18 at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I lived on my own for 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
Actually, my younger brother and younger sister, they moved away with my parents.
Okay.
So I decided that to stay there, I saw that I could handle with it. But turned out to be, I was depressed.
Okay.
Yep. And so I turned out to be actually I kind of come down from a superstar student to a okay student in the last year of my high school.
Do you think it stemmed from just being by yourself?
Yeah, actually, because of that, I think I didn't really learn how to handle with myself very well there. So when I went to college, I was supposed to get a better grade in the college entrance exam. But what was funny is, because of my depression, I didn't practice enough, especially on some questions in my math. Okay. So in the college entrance exam, I told to myself, I'm like, come on, 1 year ago, I can answer this question so easily. I remember that. But now this question is right in front of me, and this is college entrance exam, and I couldn't write down anything. So my college exam actually didn't turn out to be too well. Not a disaster, but not too well. And because of that, I originally planned to become a scientist or engineer. But I actually was assigned to a major, which is management science. Still a good school.
Wait, you were assigned to the major?
Yeah, I was assigned to a major. That was funny.
So you don't pick your major in Taiwan?
Well, you have your score, right? You get your exam score, and then you have to submit a list of the majors and schools combinations on a piece of paper. And whether you will get into something you want to get in, that would depend on the other people's choices too. So it's run by computer. Really? So I have no idea about a lot of majors. And my father was a military officer, and my mom was an elementary school teacher, and I don't have a older brother to tell me many things. Mm-hmm. And so around that time, I just put something random in there.
Wow. So you don't get to pick what you have interest in. You just get put in based on your performance, on your scores. Like,
exactly.
This is kind of where you line up.
Yeah, you can pick what you're interested. For example, if you want to be engineer, you can put everything about engineering. But sometimes you have to put something else because you're thinking about, okay, if I don't get into engineering program of a school A, then I have to go to school B. But I don't want to go to school B, so I want to stay in school A for another major.
Gotcha. So sometimes that played a role. Like you could take the major at a different school, but if you really like the school, you just switch the major.
Exactly. Especially in Taiwan, there are huge differences between national universities and private universities. National universities, they are low tuition. Also, people respect students in national universities.
Would you deem national was better than private or private better than
In Taiwan, national universities, they are better than private at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and also tuition fees, is huge because in national universities, it's hugely subsidized by the government.
So there's more loans, but scholarships and stuff to go to the national.
Yeah, it's only like 1/3. National university tuition is like 1/3 of the private.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's huge difference.
And it's a better school.
And it's better schools.
So why would people go private then? It's just kind of
they have no choices.
No choice in regards to what they can go into for school, or they're forced in there by family.
They're forced into private. In some terms,
so like mom and dad might have went there, so now you're going there, and
yeah, in Taiwan around that time, some people they get into private, they're feeling like they're like losers.
Really?
Yeah,
is that still today? You think?
A little bit.
So you still think that the national schools in 2021 is still more prestigious than a private school?
Oh, definitely in Taiwan.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't want to say that private schools they don't have good students. Actually, they have a lot of good students, but that's the pressure of the society.
Yeah, and it's just the perception of everybody.
Yeah.
It was kind of like here. If someone says, I'm going to go to a major name brand college, or if I go to Plattsburgh State, or if I go to Clinton Community College, it's like, I mean, I look at it from a more of the financial side of it. It's like you can go to Clinton and pretty much pay a very low fee to get the baseline education, then save your money and go to a Plattsburgh or go to another school and not come out with a bunch of debt. Like I think the kids nowadays coming out of, like, you can go to say like, hey, I want to go to Ohio State. You can go to Ohio State. It's going to cost you 40 to 50 grand a year out of state or whatever. Or you can go to Plattsburgh State. I get it. They might have some more connections or bigger. So there might be a trade-off. But it seems insane for kids to pile up a bunch of debt, which sounds like over there, to go to a private. It's like there's, like the SUNY school system's a very good school system, and a lot, thousands of kids go through it every year. And it's more affordable typically than going to a private school.
Yeah, I think in the United States it's actually opposite of what we have in Taiwan. Because in Taiwan, national university, they are lower tuition, and also they are perceived as better quality universities. But in the United States, there are many private universities and public universities. And some private universities, they are very prestigious. But some other private universities, they are not as prestigious. So, and plus, actually, the private universities, tuitions now in the USA, they are crazy expensive. So, yeah, I've been through this whole process of selecting colleges. Actually, in my son's case, my son is currently a medical school student.
I'm gonna ask you about your son. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's graduated from Plattsburgh High School as valedictorian, and so we have a lot of questions regarding where he should go for the college, and the tuition fees in the USA is daunting for any parent. So I did a calculation for a lot of schools my son was admitted to. For example, he was admitted to NYU, and admitted to U of Michigan, Boston College, and I think Boston University, and also Ohio State, and RPI.
And this was all for medical?
No, actually, around that time, it's all for colleges.
But was this? Oh, so how old is your son now?
My son is actually now in medical school.
So he's beyond college. And
actually,
I didn't think he was that old, but he's that old now.
Yeah,
wow,
he's that old. Yeah, and guess what? He graduated from SUNY Plattsburgh too.
Really?
Yeah, actually, we made that was the best decision actually we have ever made because actually he decided that he would stick with SUNY Plattsburgh, so he became the sort of a star student here.
Yeah.
And he can do a lot of good things on campus, so a lot of activities. So later, actually, he got admitted to medical school. I think actually it's better way because he saved a lot of money because he got a free ride. Yep. And he saved those money now for professional school. So this is really my advice for a lot of parents to think about it, because nowadays, a lot of private colleges, they are really too expensive. And a lot of kids, they don't really know they want what they want to do, at an early stage. So instead of putting a lot of money for undergraduate program, actually, I would encourage parents to save money for graduate program, because according to my survey, it's much easier to get into graduate program of the same school than undergraduate program.
I wish I could take the snippet of what you just said and just play it for every kid that's in high school right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. I want to tell kids that do not be overstressed for your college application. You're thinking about, okay, college is a time for you to get out of your parents' home.
Yeah, go
and
explore.
To go explore the world. Yeah. The world that's very nice. Yeah, and but it doesn't mean that you need to go to some prestigious and expensive schools. Definitely, because it takes a long time to pay back your tuitions, and the student loan is getting very high every year. So I would say that for a lot of kids, to find what you're interested in is more important than to find a college.
Yeah. I give your son a lot of credit, because I think a lot of kids at his age don't realize that financial burden of going to college. And the reason I'm kind of laughing is because when I was going to college, I applied. I didn't know what I wanted to do at school. My dad was in real estate. My mom was a teacher, and going to college. And I remember, in high school, they go through like, what would be a job you'd want to do? And I remember one project it might have been my junior year. And the two projects I did was, one was a gym teacher, phys ed teacher. I was like, phys ed was one of the things that I looked at. And then the second one was a civil engineer. And the only reason I picked civil engineer, I think my uncle did it, and I was like, I'll look into it. But it was one of those things my heart wasn't set in anything. And I remember getting out of high school, and it was kind of in the form of like, this was 2008. I was like, well, you go to college, because in your head, that's just the natural progression. You go after high school, you go to college. So I applied to one school, SUNY Plattsburgh. I grew up in Chazy, so I was local in the area, and I didn't want to go away. And part of it was a mixture of not knowing what to do. It was a mixture of laziness. It was a mixture of, because part of me was like, I just don't feel like applying to a bunch of schools because I don't know what I really want to do. And I also around that time started reading books on like finance and economics, and again, kind of a weird thing for a high school student, but I started to read. I had a good teacher my senior year that was my sociology. He still lives locally, but he was a sociology or high school teacher at the time. And he spent about a month going over personal finance and budget and things like that. Stuff that they don't teach in high school. They don't teach well enough in high school. They should. And he started talking to me about, IRAs and insurance and debt and loans. And in my head, as a 17-year-old, I'm like, holy crap, like I'm just learning this now. And I'm 18 at the time. I'm literally like graduating in like 3 months. And I remember reading a couple books on it and about the idea of compound interest, on the idea of debt, on the idea of student loans. And I remember thinking in my head, like, no, I'm sticking with one school. I ended up getting a scholarship to Plattsburgh. I came out. My parents had said they had saved up X amount of money, and they said you can go to any school in the world you want to go to, but this is how much we've saved up, and take it or basically use it however you want. So in my head, I'm like, okay. One, I didn't want my parents to pay money for my school, and I didn't really want to pay much money for my school. So what I did was I was like, let me go to Plattsburgh. Let me go super cheap. My parents will pay for it, but I'm still saving my parents a lot of money as to what, in the grand scheme of where I could go. And I ended up, my mom also went to Plattsburgh, and she always talked highly of Plattsburgh, and I think a lot of local students or people locally are like, well, I want to get away, and Plattsburgh's Plattsburgh, like the grass is greener on the other side kind of deal. Like Plattsburgh, and and I'll tell you what, I wasn't very active in school, in college. I went to Plattsburgh, and but looking back at it now, I actually have fonder opinions and views of Plattsburgh today than I did as a student, because not against anything with the college, but when I was going through college, I was so checked out of college. I did my work. I enjoyed you tremendously. I enjoyed your classes. Dr. Gaber, I enjoyed him. I had him in international accounting. Is he still involved?
Oh yeah, he's still our chair.
Oh God, he's such a great individual. And I had a few other teachers. Brian Newruther was my advisor for supply, because I graduated supply chain management.
He's our interim dean now.
Yeah, so and I really like Brian, and I've talked to Brian a couple times since I've run into him, since I've graduated. But back then I just didn't really have my heart set in it. And now, having met more people and being out more in the community, but still seeing a lot of what's going on with the college, I think that it's there's so much good that comes out of the college. And when I was going to school too, it was eye-opening, because here I come from upstate New York, and Plattsburgh State is not upstate New York. It is, in the sense you live up here, but it's such a culturally, it's just crazy. You just show up, and there's international students. There's students from more urban areas. There's students from rural areas, and I found that sitting in a class where I predominantly was people like me that were just sitting up in class, and you kind of had your buddies from high school, and then you get put into college, and wow, there's a whole other world. And it's in Plattsburgh, and because this community is kind of this little ecosystem of or melting pot of just a bunch of different cultures and activity. And I think Plattsburgh does promote a lot of that. And I've had some students that are interns for me here, and some international students been interns, and it's just great. It's cool to kind of hear their perspective on everything. And you as being an immigrant, and I think now looking at Plattsburgh, it's I think it's I would love I try to push people, not that they have to go to Plattsburgh, but I'm saying if you go to college, make sure you don't feel overwhelmed if you don't know what you want to do, because nobody does. You're 18. You're a kid. You're still a kid. Go be open. Kind of be open. Just go to a place and just kind of let things happen, and just go with the flow, and don't try to force it, but just be open to talking to people and meeting people, and open to new ideas, and open to maybe, because when I went undecided, and I wanted to be a teacher, and then I'm like, what? I didn't want to be a teacher, and I kind of, for a couple of different reasons, so I went into business, and then I kind of went into supply chain only because it was a new major, and I'm like, I don't know, I'll just try it, because I don't really know much about it. It's a new major. I think I might have talked to Brian at the time about getting into it, and I think my uncle had been in supply chain, and I was like, let me try it, and but I got to take finance, I got to take accounting, I got to take marketing, I got to take just as a bunch of different areas within the School of Business and Economics, and I enjoyed it, and I got a background, and I actually got my real estate license while I was in college, so I probably had it right around the time I took your classes or was getting it, and and I think for me it was eye-opening, but I came out of college debt-free, and that's something that since coming out of college I was able to buy an investment property young. I was, I just basically took tuition money, and that's where it went. And then again, I was able to get into something that I didn't love real estate when I got into real estate. It was just kind of a means to an end. And then I started to really like it, and I started to like the more complexities of real estate. And, but now I look back at it, it's I've been able to not have a financial burden on me that most students do if they come out of college. And I think, to me, your son doing the way that he's done it, and where does he go to school now?
He's in SUNY Upstate.
SUNY Upstate, but
medical school.
Yeah,
medical school.
And even that, going from a SUNY school to a SUNY school, he's going to come out, I would say, much further ahead financially than most medical school students, and he's going to have, and like you said, to be able to pay that debt down to then now you're starting to accumulate wealth or start to accumulate. He's going to be able to flip that really quick.
Yep.
And that's what you want, because like I said, if you're sitting there digging out of a hole for a decade, 20 years, something like that, then it's man, I'm just getting back up to breathing room, let alone now I can just sky's the limit.
Yeah, you know that the student loan interest rate, they are not too low, right? And we talk about compound. So if you compound those money for 10 years, that's a huge amount of money. A lot of people actually they didn't realize that actually SUNY Plattsburgh we offer so many good things there. So first of all, just like what you say, we are the most diversified campus in the whole SUNY with the largest percentage of international students.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know whether or not you know Chulenga Pereira. He was an international student actually around your time.
Okay.
And I had a chance actually to be his thesis advisor because he was in honor program, in the honors program. So anyway, 10 years later, you guess what? He's now the chief information officer of Daimler.
Of which one?
Of Daimler, the company making Daimler.
Okay.
Yeah, in the whole India continent.
Really?
Yeah.
And it came from Plattsburgh.
From Plattsburgh. So there are a bunch of good students actually. Now they are in the executive position from Plattsburgh. So a lot of people actually in those countries, they don't realize that actually you have something just right beside you. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's low cost option, and then you will be able to meet a lot of good people. One day they will be big shots.
Well, what's funny is, if I went through a good portion of my friend group right now, mm-hmm. they all went to SUNY Plattsburgh, and a lot of them I didn't meet in college. Mm-hmm. Some of us are different ages, and some of us, anywhere from 5, 6, 7 years younger than me, all the way up to 10, 15 years older than me. Mm-hmm. But some of my best friends, and a lot of them are very successful locally, and they're doing some great things, and just great people and hardworking, mm-hmm. and liking to learn and grow. But they all went to Plattsburgh, and it's kind of funny how, especially when you look at, sometimes you'll get those programs like they'll talk about alumni, and you get the things, and you kind of mm-hmm. look, and there's a story about an alumni, and my wife went to Plattsburgh, and mm-hmm. you start to read about where they're at now and what they did, and it's like you can accomplish a lot in life. And I think that the thing with people, college is it's a few years at a very young time in your career, mm-hmm. that typically kids leave college at say 22, 23 years old, and they go off into the real world, and you have another 30, 40, 50 years, of working, of meeting people, of relationships, of growing, of transitioning from careers to career. And, I think, college gives you the time to learn. It gives you the time to meet people. It gives you the time to kind of push you away from what you knew it's out of your comfort zone, like where you grow. And I think, and people change, everybody changes. I'm sure students have met you, and said, what, Jason's had an impact on me, therefore I may want to do accounting, or I may want to, mm-hmm. maybe not even accounting, but I just want his perspective on something that I'm going to go into this career. Mm-hmm. And then you can kind of, like I said, almost, you did it for your son, but I'm sure you've done it to countless individuals that went through the SUNY system.
Yeah, actually, I have experienced, actually my college first 2 years was very tough too.
You as a student or as a professor?
As a student,
okay.
Actually. Yeah, let me talk about this, because this is something actually, this changed my perspective about this whole thing of education. Yeah. After I get into college of the first year, I told you that I got into the major I have no idea about. So, and what was worse was in Taiwan, you are not allowed to change majors.
Really?
Really, yeah. Actually, they do allow you to change up, but in order to change majors, you've got to be very good in your grade. So there are very limited spots for you to switch your majors. But the question is, if somebody's not interested in their majors, how can they do well?
Yeah, you don't have a passion for it.
Yeah. You have no passion, so pretty much you're stuck there for 4 years. So in my life, I changed majors 3 times.
Okay.
I changed my majors 3 times. So if you look at my resume, I changed from management science to economics,
yep.
to accounting. Mm-hmm. Okay, and this is a long story to share with you. Okay, in Taiwan, actually, the first 2 years of my college, if you meet me on the street, okay, I looked terrible because the first year I skipped courses. Because there were many courses I just not interested.
Just like partied and hung out?
Yeah. Actually, I didn't party. That was a problem. I didn't party that much because my school was like a 13-to-1 male to female ratio.
Oh.
13-to-1. And my college actually was still prestigious in Taiwan.
Okay.
Yeah, it was still very prestigious in Taiwan. So nowadays, actually, a lot of technology companies, their CEOs, they were my classmates.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, during those years. And but anyway, I was very lost because every day my job was, I was in the college, technology oriented, so I have to learn 4 to 5 different computer languages every year.
Jeez.
So
and that's in management science?
That's management science,
okay.
And we're very mathematics oriented.
And this was back in the early 90s?
1988.
Okay.
1988, 89.
So how was the computers back then, technology?
Okay, we just switched from the, we just switched from the card.
Oh, the floppy disk.
Yeah, no, actually, it was before. It was the beginning of a floppy disk.
Okay.
It was the very beginning. So
when I was in school in the 90s, it was the floppy disk.
1 year ahead of that, it was like a punch hole.
Okay.
On a piece of paper, right? But when I started, it was like a floppy disk. So floppy disk was like a what? Like a 1 mega floppy disk. That kind of time.
Yeah, okay.
1 megabytes, yeah. So I was writing computer
Which
programs.
is a joke now, considering my phone has like...
Yeah, exactly.
Like 256... My computer has 1 terabyte. Like, how crazy is that,
Yeah. And so for my life over there was very, very boring. So I have to do a lot of math, and I have to go to computer center every night. So we stay up very late. So sometimes it's like a 2 a.m. we get out of the computer center. Then we went back to sleep. So we have that type of life.
Like, were you just like coding or
coding?
something?
Yeah, we do a lot of coding.
Okay.
Actually, I told myself like, okay, I don't really like to have coding as my life, and I like math and I like it, but I don't know why am I here. I don't even know what type of job I'm doing. So I was totally lost. So let me tell you how lost I was. I started actually pursuing a lot of religious lives. So after my first year college, a lot of people actually they went to to do a lot of internships, right?
Mm-hmm.
But after the first year of college, I went to a temple. I lived with monk.
Really?
Yeah, for 2 months.
Was this just you had to like reset?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know what, I'm lost in my life. I feel this life is void. So I want to go there to to see how those monks they live. I want to live with them.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
This is Buddhist?
Yeah, Buddhist, yeah.
Were you Buddhist? Is that?
Well, actually, I'm not sitting down on any religions at this time. Yeah, but
What about back then?
Yeah, but back then actually I was very into different religions.
Okay.
So I was in Buddhist temple. Also, actually I have a Bible study with somebody from the United States around that time too. So anyway, I was there. Actually, just like what I'm saying, I'm not party guy,
Mm-hmm.
but I was very lost. And after 2 years, then I had a very good chance to. One day, actually, my friend talked to me, say there was an economic professor who was very good, just came back from Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. Finally, I heard that somebody's a good teacher, so I actually went there to take the course, which is Intermediate Microeconomics.
Okay, and this was for your master's. I'm not even going to pronounce National Tsinghua? Tsinghua University?
Oh yeah, National Tsinghua University. Actually, that was my master's degree. But when I went there, I was actually a sophomore student.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, probably think about why I transitioned to that master's degree school, right? That was actually very interesting. I sit down in the classroom with that teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and this teacher told me that, say, okay, in order to teach 1 hour, I have to prepare everything for 8 hours. So he has to prepare a course 8 hours for 1 hour lecture. So I was sitting there, I was a little shocked because I never thought of that a professor would be so serious.
Mm-hmm.
So I told myself, okay, yeah, let me listen to your lecture. And his lecture was great. So very engaging. And then I feel guilty that if I don't study, I just feel guilty for wasting his time.
Okay, so you felt accountable to him, or
yeah,
like
I feel
you owed
accountable to him.
Your effort.
Yeah, he's actually the professor who totally changed my life because I was taking intermediate microeconomics course with him, but I got a D in my introduction to microeconomics.
With him?
No, with another teacher.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and who did not even put demand and supply line on the right place.
So do you find this professor, because they were a good professor, because that he drew out Well, I should say he drew out your passion for
Yeah,
it.
my desire for learning. So
Yes.
he ignite my learning. He's like he just put a match on a piece of wood. That was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and suddenly I realized that wow, this is a real learning. Then I started taking courses actually from his economics department. Actually, luckily around that time, my college allowed us to.
And you were about 20 at this point?
Yep.
Okay.
My college actually allowed me to take courses cross different campus, and this college is right beside my college. So both colleges, they are very prestigious, but I have to every day, because they allow me to take courses from the college next door. So every day I have to ride my bike 15 minutes and go to the other side of the wall to take courses from this college. So later, actually, I took the college entrance exam and get into this college master degree. Every year, they only recruited 12 students.
Really?
Yeah, just every year. And
This is not just from your school. This is from everywhere.
yeah, from everywhere.
Okay.
So they only recruited 12 students nationwide. And I was one of them. And this professor I mentioned, he's still my good friend right now.
Really?
And
Still a mentor.
yeah, he became actually my assess's mentor later, 2 years later.
So, okay, so let me back up, and I want to come back to that. So, I want to go back to the when you went and lived with the monks for. Now, was that my obviously my view of like monks is them walking around like with kind of like the orange yellow like
Yep.
What were those called? Almost dresses or gown. I say gowns, but you know what I'm talking about. And walking
Kind of like a rope.
a robe. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they're walking around. Did they speak, or was this very?
Okay, actually they are very busy, you know that? Do you know how
I
busy
don't know
they
much
are?
about monks. I always like my picture of a monk is like sitting there meditating, not talking, and doing like this retreat that you go for a month, day, years without speaking.
They no, it's not everybody like that. Actually, that depends on the philosophy, and there are many different type of philosophies in Buddhism. Mm-hmm. And for example, let me just give some idea about what they're doing in temple. Actually, I met a monk actually who became my friend that time, who has a PhD in Chinese language.
Really?
Yeah, but he decided to become a monk. So I kind of follow him. So I become a leader of his Buddhism Chinese literature camp. Another year later. But around that time, I follow him in the temple. So every morning it's like 4:00. They have to wake up 4:00. Then I have to follow them. So I have to clean everything. So every day they have to clean all the windows, all the doors. And then they would do those meditation thing, okay, and also some ceremonial type of thing. And thereafter, they are busy, so they have a lot of things to do. And what's even more challenging for a lot of people is they don't eat anything after noon. So after 12 p.m., they don't eat stuff.
They just fast.
They just fast
So they eat only in the morning.
in the morning.
Is that a religious?
Actually,
belief?
that depends on many different temples, but in that temple, actually, they did that.
So, how many monks lived in the temple?
Depends on the size. The one
the
I
one
went
you went
there, probably like 7 or 8 of them.
And were you included in that, or were these monks, and then you were a visitor or a student? Or...
I'm more like a visitor there.
So did you stay there? Like, did you physically live there?
Actually, I lived there like 1 month, 1 month to 2 months. Yeah, but
So you
and
actually lived-
then yeah, 1 month to 2 months, and another month for the summer camp.
And like I said, that was more of just for you to kind of reset, kind of get some enlightenment as to what the heck to do with your life.
Yes, actually, that helped me a lot because I remember that 2 months after. 2 months, actually, it was like 2 months. I didn't really get out of the temple for too frequently. So I remember 2 months later, they say, okay, you can leave. So I leave there. Actually, they never tell me I need to leave, but because the summer camp was over, so I was like, okay, let me get out of there. So I feel so happy when I see people, and my mind was so peaceful. So I smile towards people.
Yeah, all
the
time.
time, very naturally. And also I realized that actually in my life, I don't need so many things in order to be happy.
Yeah.
That was something actually they told me, because they don't have a lot of stuff, but I don't really need that so many things to be happy. That's something I learned from them.
So, so more like the minimalist, simplest, like you have stuff but you don't have to go overboard. You have to buy expensive things. I find like people, they buy a lot of just stuff that doesn't really add value to life. Like buying, like a watch or buying something fancy. Like you might think it adds value, but it doesn't really add value at the end of the day. It's just kind of stuff, that you like. I'm trying to think, if you bought, like say someone bought a specific car or wanted something fancy or fancy outfits or clothes, sometimes that's not, it's like a false sense of happiness, because you buy it and it might make you happy for a small period of time, but then you lose, there's so many things that you buy, even as a kid, you want a special toy.
Yes.
And that toy loses its fun after a couple weeks, and all of a sudden it's like, I want something new, but it's not necessarily the toy that's bringing a lot of, like that's what I'm saying with the monks, I'm guessing it's, the necessities of life, breathing, living, friendship, camaraderie, like the things that people, if we really strip down all humans, like that's kind of what we like. You might like entertainment, but entertainment can come in different ways. It could come in just in conversation. It could come in, having something warm to drink. There's different ways that you can. So you find that was it. Was just kind of like look at like the simplistic. Let's break down life and all the craziness down to like the very most basic needs, and that's really all you need.
Yeah, I think actually in this world we should simplify our way of living. Americans actually, we don't realize that we actually, we're so much entitled to so many things. Good cars, and we spend a lot of money for Halloweens, for different holidays, gifts, all those type of things. But how necessary they are, we sometimes we frequently forget it. How necessary those things they are needed by us. So in the USA, I think the better way actually toward happiness is not just buy stuff. Okay, you probably know that when you have some money, then you probably want a better car. Then, but we seldom think about how much time we really spend on the car, right? Yeah, and are we buying the car for our own use, or buying the car for somebody's envy?
Perception.
Yeah, perception and envious of us. Yeah,
keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I will try to be aware of that actually after my years with those monks.
And is this something you've been able to keep up to this point in your life?
Well, I will try to. I will try to. Yeah, of course. I have a wife and I have my son, and they have different desires for things. Yeah. But I'm trying to stick to this principle as much as possible. And
do you still meditate? Do you still take time to kind of to yourself and think and?
Well, that's an interesting question. Okay, since I came to the United States, I knew, and I didn't talk about why I came to USA, right, at that part.
Yeah, we're gonna keep going.
Yeah. Since I came to the United States, I've been very busy for like 10 years, so extremely busy. And when I get promoted to full professor, a lot of people think that you're promoted to full professor, then you should be very happy, right? And actually, in that year, my anxiety was getting worse, much worse. Okay, actually, I realized that in the past 10 years, because I came to USA, I worked so hard, and I forgot how to live. I concentrate on working so much, so I forgot. Yeah, I forgot how to live. So then, one day I was in a parking lot, and I was in the car, and I didn't want to get out of the car.
At the parking lot of the school.
Of the school, yeah. I didn't want to get out of park.
Was this at Plattsburgh or prior to coming?
Plattsburgh, actually. Yeah. So I thought to myself, like, wow, I'm in trouble, because I pushed myself too much. So just like what you say, actually, in the past few years, I tried to slow down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, my slow down for somebody probably was the average speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still like 110% of someone
Yeah.
else.
So I try to slow down, and now actually my meditation actually is to walk around the field house of Plattsburgh State. Yeah. that area, actually just to slow myself down, listen to music.
Do you do this each day or try to?
Yeah, I do that every day.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that every day, and I'm also do running every day. So I'm running like 3,000 meters every day now.
Okay, so, because one of the things I'm starting to slowly get into the same is like life. It's busy and it gets chaotic and it gets crazy, and between, at least for me, between like work, I have 3 young children, so between work, between like just a bunch of stuff that goes on, and I love it. I love all aspects of it, but sometimes it's just overwhelming, and like you said, anxiety, and sometimes just being able to be a little more present and not be what's the next thing, because my mind always goes to, all right, great, I got that done. Now then I'm already thinking about what needs to be done, and it's like, well, if I keep thinking about what I need to do, what I need to do, that you're always thinking present, and you're not really like kind of enjoying like the fruits of your labor, or enjoying like calming down. So I'm trying to implement more like downtime in my day. I was very much like appointment, go, and I'm trying to regulate that slightly, but I'm also trying to regulate it more in a sense of like slow down. I'm trying to get better at listening. I listen good here. I find that my brain goes so quick at times that when I'm in conversations with people, sometimes I don't hear them enough, and I find that I'm almost hearing the voices in my head more than I'm hearing the person, and I'm trying to kind of slow that down. And I think a lot of it is just trying to center myself a little bit more, and I don't know. I think it just I'm trying to really work on being a little bit more present, a little bit more like enjoy smaller things, because I find same thing as life gets crazy and busy. I just think it started to take so much energy out of me, where I just didn't feel like I had a break, and that's and the thing is, I was kind of getting burnt out a little bit, and it was more of I love what I do, but I didn't want my overwhelmingness to affect my family or my kids, and then I also didn't want to affect coming into work and being tired from hanging out with the 3 kids and doing stuff and coming here and not giving my full effort. So it's like some stuff had to give, and that a lot of that is I'm trying to figure out a way to pull stuff off my plate and get like I said, a little bit more quiet and not as much rush in my day.
Yeah, a little bit me time will be very helpful.
Yeah.
Treat yourself better. Sometimes when you do something very different, okay, even do nothing, actually you are resting your mind too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me actually, when sometimes I feel overwhelmed, accounting they use a lot of brain power sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes when I really think things become too complicated and my mind's going off, then I will go back to my piano and start playing anything randomly and just let my mind flow.
Yeah.
Play anything I think of in my mind. I found that actually that's very helpful for me.
Well, yeah, and I think so. I read a quote. This is about 2 weeks ago. It was a quote by Henry Ford, the founder of Ford Motor, and he said, "Thinking is the hardest thing to do. That's why so few people actually do it." And I thought about it, and it hit me like pretty hard because this is some stuff business wise, and I found that I'm spending more time thinking about stuff than doing stuff at certain points, because I was go, but I've gotten to the point, as I'm sure you have with accounting in certain aspects of it, that some of it just becomes autopilot and you can just do it. And I find that the motion of that stuff is easy, meaning like certain things, like I'll put it in real estate perspective, me helping someone with buying or selling a home is autopilot. I've been doing it. I know what I'm doing. I can always, I'm always learning, but I've gotten majority of what I'm going to learn, I've learned in that space. My brain power is now going to the company, now going to growth, now going to expansion, now going to the things that are kind of going to level up the company and that takes brain power. That takes quiet time. That takes thinking. That takes being in by myself and my own brain thinking and writing stuff down. And the amount of energy. So last week I took off from all appointments, and I spent the week by myself. I would drop my kid off at school, and I would spend, some of it was I would just drive down and I'd park by the lake, and I would sit there for 2-3 hours and just write down thoughts and ideas, and it was just being in my own headspace and kind of really internalizing and thinking about stuff. But what it allowed me to, one, I would do it for 4 to 5 hours during the day, and my brain would be white. I was done. But I looked at it as like, I put so much effort into a few hours a day. I didn't have to work 8, 10, 12 hours. I worked one day 3, one day 4, one day 5. But it was so focused work. My mind was tired.
Yep.
But it was good. It was good work, and I needed it. But that shows when you really put your mind to something or really have to think about it, the amount of energy and amount of time that you burn just in that deep focus and thought is very exhausting.
Yeah, so we really have to know ourselves, and then how to structure our time for that. For example, you keep your best time, the best energy for those items that require a lot of brain power. Then you can use some other time for doing something that doesn't require the brain power to do it.
Yeah, so go into, I guess, okay. We'll go back and we'll come back to this. How did you get to come to America?
Well, that's a long story, and I came to the United States, purely for getting a degree in accounting, and just like what I say, I changed my majors 3 times, okay, and a lot of people actually they were shocked for me to tell them this. Before I came to the United States for my accounting program, I have only taken 3 accounting undergraduate courses.
Really?
Yeah, so I took 3 undergraduate accounting courses only before my PhD program. So that's a long story. Let me tell you why I get into accounting.
Why accounting? Yeah.
Yep. I took some accounting courses actually in my undergraduate program, and I like the courses. Yeah, but I don't have a chances because we don't have an accounting major there. Then I switched to economics. So I was into the one of the prestigious master degree program. So college actually paid me money to study there. And I have 11 classmates, and some of them are really genius. In a master degree in economics.
Okay.
Yeah, and they are many of them. They are very rich people now. Yeah,
I'm assuming they went to the private sector and business and companies.
Exactly. Many of them they are mutual fund managers, and some of them they design the derivatives for Citigroup in Taiwan.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, and they're smart people, very smart people, and I was happy that I have a chance to know many of them. And then after graduate school, I was forced into Army.
Okay.
Yeah. So
was that required?
Yeah, that was
military
a 2 years of military service.
Okay.
So, be honest with you, I don't like Army.
Okay.
Because my father was a special force colonel who was trained by the United States. And
so he was pretty badass. Like,
yeah, and he was very good father. Actually, yeah. he do the laundry, he do everything at home. He wash clothes for us. Yeah. He treated my mom very well. But sometimes, those people, they have a temper.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're tough. Yeah. So my father was working in Myanmar jungle for CIA when I was in college.
For the United States?
For the United States, yeah. Okay. Because CIA actually paid my father to train the opposition forces against Myanmar military government in the jungle.
Okay, yeah. All right. So, now did your parents live still in Taiwan at the time?
Yeah, my father already passed away. My mom's still there. But now let's go back to the accounting.
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't like military, so I decided that okay, I want to have a military service without touching rifles too much. And also, I don't want to deal with the tough people in the army, just like my father.
Okay.
And my father said, if you don't want to go to some, even you have no idea about what happened, then I can send you to the paratrooper because I have a lot of friends there.
Just jumping out of planes.
Jumping out of plane. I said, no, I don't want to jump out of plane. So anyway, then I figured out that the best way for me to not carry a rifle in army and finish the 2 years happily was to become an accounting officer. And there were only 20 positions at that time. They are open to college graduates. So
because the military is still business.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So looks like it's very competitive. So I was like, okay, well, I can sacrifice my whole month study and just to get into that military position to be an accountant. So I studied very hard. My father said, nobody make it. I said, no, I will be the one. So I made it there. So I became an accounting officer. So I was actually trained in a metropolitan area. Okay, and we still have some chances to use the rifle, but there wasn't something basically there. So I already through boot camp in Taiwan already. So after my 6 months boot camp, 6 weeks boot camp, actually I went to the accounting school. So I did accounting. So I was dreaming that after I get out of my training school, I'll be working in metropolitan area as an accountant, happily.
So did you have interest in accounting, or was this purely just to avoid?
I like accounting. I like accounting, but I choose that job is because I was motivated by the chance
Just
not to carry rifle.
Wow.
Yeah, because I don't want to deal with people like my dad. Yeah, he was nice, but I know that.
It just wasn't the life you wanted to live.
Yeah, that's just not a life I want to be in army.
Wow. So that was your career path. Like that's what got you into the accounting.
Yeah, let me tell you something funny. Even more funny after that. So I was thinking about I will stay in the city, right? City area, and after 5 o'clock, I would just clock out, and then I would just do anything I want, right? In army, so pretty much like just working in a corporation for army, and but unfortunately I had bad luck, so they sent me to an island. A small island, 2.5 square miles island.
Jeez.
Yep, and what's even more funny, we call it front line because, we have a historical conflict between Taiwan and China.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that island actually was like 90 miles from Taiwan, but only 5 to 8 miles, probably 8 miles to China.
And this was because you were sick?
No, actually they just sent me there. So we have after our military training, we have a drawing for your assignment. So you will have lottery for where you're gonna be sent to. So I had the worst luck in my class.
And this is so I'm getting stuff confused here. So this was out of the military.
Yeah.
The drawing after the military.
Yeah, after the training school.
Okay.
After military training, so we have a lottery for determining where you're gonna be sent to.
Oh, so while you were in the military, you were on this little island.
Yeah.
Doing
So
the accounting thing.
yeah, they sent me to this
Gotcha,
small
okay.
island to do the accounting.
Okay, sorry. Now I'm good. Now keep going.
Yeah, yep. So that was funny. So not many accountants there. So I have to be the accountant for like 4,000 soldiers, and most of us will live in underground. So it's a fortified island. So I cannot disclose where it is because it's still kind of national security for Taiwan. But it was island it's totally fortified.
So, and this was a small island.
Yes, 2.5 square miles. People living underground, and our enemy at that time was just 8 miles, 10 miles away from us, and we are 90 miles back home.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a place like
Stressful.
that. Very stressful. So actually, the first night actually I couldn't sleep because we have to use machine gun to drive the Chinese fishermen away from our perimeter.
Jeez.
Yeah, so that was a very, very interesting place, and I was doing accounting there. And the good thing is I learned so much because there are not many people there, so I have to do everything on my own.
Okay.
Yeah, and something actually inspired me was actually I did also accounting thing, and after like 5 p.m., I like to still stay there on my job because I cannot move my mind away from how to improve the system. So actually, that was a moment actually I realized that
There's inefficiencies in the model.
yeah, actually that was a moment actually I realized that I'm so into accounting because I'm not just a person like being counter doing those numbers. I'm a thinker. Mm-hmm. I like to think about how to improve the whole system. So 1 year later, actually, I wrote the instruction, the operational manual for my unit there, and I love it.
I think you told me this in college.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that was the moment of my life. I'm like, okay, this thing's so interesting. I'm gonna work on this for my life. So after I get out of army, I just cannot move my mind away from this.
So it became like an obsession.
Yeah, and then but the problem in Taiwan was just like what I say. I have only taken 3 accounting courses, and I don't even have an undergraduate degree. So in Taiwan, if I want to get admitted to a master degree or PhD degree, it was almost impossible. Then I realized that, but the problem is I have no time because I was married. I have a...
So you got married young.
Yeah, I was married, and I have a newborn baby. Then what should I do? So also around that time, my father passed away. So I
This
realized...
was all early 2000s?
Yeah, early 1996,
Okay.
around that time. Yeah, my father passed away, and then I realized that, wow, yeah, my family actually would now rely on me. I got to do something more brave for myself.
So were you married and had your son after you were in the military?
Actually, after, yeah.
Just after?
Yeah,
okay.
after military, actually. Yeah, and I get married, okay. Yeah, the reason why I get married earlier was because actually the last year of my military life, we have a military conflict against China. So I saw that I wasn't be able to get out of there. I don't know whether or not you heard of a 1996 Taiwan Strait crisis. So, around that time, Taiwan actually we were elected our first democratic president, and our new president who is going to be elected, who kind of in support of independence.
This currently?
No,
Back in
1996, yeah. So around that time in 1996, China was not happy because they don't want to see a new president who is supporting of independence. Mm-hmm. Although we are de facto independent, but this person might declare dependence. So around that time, China actually they vowed to launch missiles against us. So we were ready to be surrounded. Actually, around that time, I remember that one morning I wake up, I look around the island. We were surrounded by like 300 Chinese fishermen's boats. They're quasi-naval ships.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're surrounding us. And I remember that my general on that day say, everybody start practice shooting. So I remember that day they told me the first time, don't do the counting.
Grab a gun.
Yeah, they asked me to just to take a gun and start practice shooting. So I have my M16 right in front of me. Yeah, I remember that. But I remember I was practicing shooting, but I couldn't see the target because my eyes were so bad because of counting books.
Wow. You couldn't wear your glasses.
Yeah, so I was joking with my friends that, okay, in case we run out of bullets, I will give my bullets to you, and I can throw grenades. So I was happy that I get out there. So I met my wife. So I said, okay, let's get married.
So you got out. So where did you meet? Was your wife on the island too?
No, actually, I met my wife actually in my hometown. I was like, okay, I found a woman I love, so I don't want to waste time.
So this was right after you got out of the military?
Yeah, right after I got out of military, yes.
And then you just said, let's get married and get the heck out of Taiwan.
Yeah, actually, around that time, no. When I get married with my wife, I wanted to give my father a grandson. But unfortunately, my father actually passed away right before my son's birth. Yeah, so that was very unfortunate. And around that time, I was thinking about, well, I need to find a direction for myself. And I'm lost because I have 3 accounting courses. I want to do accounting. So what should I do? So I remember that I met a friend who told me that in the USA, they don't really care about where you're from.
Yeah.
And they don't really care what type of majors you have. If they like you, they will take you. So have that in my mind, I start preparing for my graduate school exam. It's called GMAT for the PhD program. So I remember that the first time I got a bad grade, not so excellent. And a couple months later, I took it again, and guess what? I scored the highest in Taiwan in that quarter.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And was that again just a bunch of studying? Like
studying,
you
just study.
You just dove into the book.
Yeah, just study. Yeah, it's crazy study. And then I remember I mailed out my application form at the end of January, and 2-3 weeks later, I got the mail in my mailbox. It's a full-ride scholarship from Kent State University in accounting,
In
PhD.
Ohio, right?
Yeah, in Ohio. Yeah, PhD in accounting. So.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I realized that okay, so I got accepted, unbelievable. So I was flying to the United States, and I remember my conversation with my advisor was very, very interesting.
This was the advisor in Ohio.
Yeah, advisor in Kent State in my PhD program. He said, "Jason, we welcome you here, and I just want to tell you that 1 year later you're expected to go up to teach because you take our scholarship. So that's your job." I say, I understand that, but I have a small problem. The small problem is I have only taken 3 accounting courses in my life. My advisor almost dropped his jaw.
But you had the background of...
I have a background in accounting, and I love accounting. So I say something to him I couldn't believe. I say, don't worry about it. I already studied some accounting books on my own. So actually, I purchased some intermediate accounting textbooks. I just study on my own. So I study some of them on my own. Also, could you let me make all the undergraduate accounting courses in the first year of PhD program?
Just create them.
So I have to take those courses.
Oh, take those courses.
Yeah, I have to take them.
Take those courses.
Yeah, I have to take those courses. Yeah. So my advisor said, "Can you handle with it? Because you are taking a first year PhD program courses." I was like, okay, no problem. So that was starting my crazy day. So in Kent State, actually I make up 9 accounting courses along with my PhD courses in the first year.
Wow. So how many credits were you taking?
I think it's
or classes per semester.
Classes.
8?
Okay, I have to make I have to take 2 regular accounting courses in regular semester, and I have to do the other. They are in summer and winter.
So you're at school all the time.
Exactly. I pretty much came inside library.
So when you so you came over, did you apply to any other places besides Kent State?
Oh yes, they a lot of schools they love me, but they want me to start with a master degree. They say that because you have taken only 3 accounting courses, so we want you to go to master degree. And by the way, you still have to make some for undergraduate courses. But I have a wife and son. I didn't want to waste a lot of time to get my PhD, so I tried to shorten my time or length to get my PhD degree. So I was very thankful that they give me the opportunity.
In Kent State,
in Kent State, yeah, and they pay everything for me. I really thankful.
Well, yeah, that goes back to what we said earlier. So and you just have the one son?
I just have one son, yeah.
And so he was an infant at the time, or very young, toddler?
Yeah, it's just like a baby.
Okay.
Just like a baby. Yeah.
Now, when you came to the United States, could you speak English?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny. Actually, I didn't really speak English in my daily life before 26 years old.
Wow. So when you you came over, how old were you when you came to the United States?
Probably 27.
So you just started speaking English very soon before coming over here?
Yeah, actually, I remember that it was so difficult to even say, "How are you?" the first day to somebody I see on the road.
What's your first language?
Mandarin, Chinese.
Mandarin.
Yeah, and also I have 2 dialects in Taiwan.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that common? 2 dialects, or is that?
Yep. Yes, it's very common for people.
So you know full Mandarin because that's what you grew up.
Yeah, full Mandarin. Yeah.
You can speak so fluently.
Very fluently.
Okay. Because some people lose it if they don't practice all the time. So.
Actually, I was very good because I even won a lot of literary writing contests actually. In high school, yeah, in high school.
So you started. Did you start to speak English because you knew you were going to come to America?
Well, that was funny. I wasn't really fully prepared. I think my English grammar, everything there okay, but I just couldn't speak. So I remember I took my first TOEFL exam. You know TOEFL exam? That was that was the part that you have to listen to English and you have to speak.
Okay.
Oh, that one Yeah, well, I scored terribly.
So you could read English and write English. But
And write, yeah.
It was hearing it. Was
Yeah, hearing, yeah. And also I come from an area that there was no English radio station. So in my time, actually, I wasn't actually prepared to come to USA, even before 26 years old. I came to the United States I decided to come here just a couple months before before I decided to take the exam.
Did you? I mean, I'm guessing there were some nerves involved coming over.
Well, I was very brave. I was so brave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how I come up with such a courage, but at that time I feel that my father will bless me, and I don't know what happened. But
do you find that responsibility of a wife and a child?
Exactly,
yeah.
And also I know that if I don't do something, then my family will rely on me, and I'll be in trouble because I didn't really like my job at that time. So I decided to come to the USA.
I think that it's funny when I think you had talked about before, like with whether you have teammates or in sports or whether you have just friends and stuff, or like you said, your professor that you were friends with that was kind of a mentor to you. It's like, I think if you feel accountable to somebody, you do better. And I think when you talked about like when I got married, and then especially when I had my first kid, it was like the same thing. It was like, okay, you got to like buckle down and step up a little bit, because now you have people that rely on you. And it's not just like, if I screw up and it's just myself, then I screw up and it's just myself, and like I only harm myself. But now if I don't put in time or effort, especially when you have children that are 100% reliable on you, if I slack off, then they're kind of screwed. They're like, Dad, like what the heck, So that's kind of the one thing that kind of gave me, like you said, lit the fire a little bit under me when I started having children, and when I got married and then started having children. It was okay. Like, you got other people that are relying on you, and now you're kind of like this little ecosystem of a team that you got to make. You got to make things work and step up and help each other out. And even though the kids are young, they still are, they're still kind of ingraining, you got to help mom and dad out, and you got to...
Yeah, and also, you'll be a very good role model for that.
Yeah, well, you try, and that's the thing. It's like there's no playbook to parenting. You figure it out, and you can get advice from people, but at the end of the day, it's what's worked best for you and your family. Yeah. And, it's always a learning curve. And as kids grow, and I mean, you're still experiencing it now. Your son gets older, and you're still learning, different things about him and about your wife, and as you guys grow and different wants and dreams and things in life that pop up, and you figure it out. Like, life's hard, but you figure it out. So
yeah, that's life.
So you came to Kent State. How was that experience?
Well, I made some good friends over there, and just like what I say, I spent the first 2.5 years. Actually, I just take a lot of courses, and I remember that there was actually a lot of pressure for me too, because I remember that before we are allowed to take the comprehensive exam, which happened probably 2.5 years after PhD program, after we joined the PhD program, and I remember we were required to come up with a research article. So in other words, I have to come up with a research article, present it. Then I will be allowed to take the comprehensive exam.
So was that kind of like a dissertation?
Yeah, kind of like a pre-dissertation type of thing.
Okay.
And the problem was, all my classmates, they started their preparation for this pre-dissertation article at the beginning of summer. I was still making up my accounting courses in the summer.
So you weren't even you didn't have all your like prerequisites all done. You're still like...
No. Actually, I talked to a professor. I say, I have to make up my accounting courses, and also I have to teach. I have to do a lot of things. So can I take the comprehensive exam maybe 1 year later? He say, it's better not to do that because there's no benchmark to protect you.
Because you're the only one going.
Yeah, if you are...
So there's no curve or bell curve?
Yeah, there's no curve, or if you're better than other people, they cannot fail you, pretty much. But if you're the person alone, then it's hard to say, right? Yeah. So that was the idea. So I was like, okay, I'm in trouble. So I remember the September 1st, that was almost beginning of the semester, and I know that I need to get something done in that semester. Otherwise, I have to defer my comprehensive exam for 1 year.
Could you have taken it 1 year?
I can do that, but that will waste my time for graduation. Yep. So that means 1 more year I have to wait.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I'm really in trouble. So I asked my wife and my son, I say, okay, please return to Taiwan. Okay, so I asked them to return to Taiwan. So So I would totally just, so I pretty much, I just came inside my office.
Wow. So your wife and your son went back to Taiwan?
They went back to Taiwan. So I
Just
asked
because
them.
the family was there?
Yeah, family there. So I asked them to return to Taiwan. I say, now just pretend I don't exist. So I was in that office and I work. Let me tell you my schedule. I got out of the office 2 a.m. I returned to office 8 a.m.
Every day.
Almost every day.
And this was just learning and learning and learning and reading and
Reading and
turning.
writing stuff. And run coding. So I have to do computer programming to do a lot of research.
And this was about a year of this?
Actually, that was the time for the pre dissertation article. So that was the semester. I have to finish the pre dissertation article before I'm allowed to take the exam in April next year.
So how long was this point away from your family?
Okay, away from my family, it's probably 3 months. So I have 3 months. I just totally pretty much came inside my library, inside my office and library, and I just do everything on my own.
Just kind of grinded and got it
Yeah,
done?
and let me tell you a joke. Actually, that was very funny because so I worked so hard, and even before comprehensive exam, I still work very hard. Pretty much the same schedule until April of next year. Okay, so I'm talking about from October to April of next year. Mm-hmm. Pretty much the schedule like this. And I have a classmate who is who is American. Okay, just a regular American student, and he has his dormitory just beside the parking lot of the school of business, College of Business of Kent State. Mm-hmm. So one day he told me that he said, "Jason, I cannot tolerate you anymore." You know, guess what? Every night, sometimes he woke up, right? 1 a.m. in the morning. His dormitory window just faced the parking lot of the school business. He saw my car is still there. He said, "You Asian people do not sleep." I remember he said that. I was laughing out loud.
So did you just, is that true though? Like you could just function off of low sleep?
No, actually, you know, it's a lot of stress, but we are educated, just like what I tell you. We're educated under the culture that mm-hmm. we believe that we can sacrifice a lot to achieve the goal. Mm-hmm. So we were people like that. So just like I asked my wife, say, "Please leave me with my son. Stay home in Taiwan. Enjoy your time. Now I'm gonna have to survive here."
And just focus, 100% focus.
Just 100% focus.
Yeah. So that you ended up, you accomplished the test, the goal, and you got the PhD.
Yes, actually we are. Yeah, that was a huge. You know, the comprehensive exam. We have 8 questions, just 8 questions. Every question is for 1 hour writing, and so you have 4 questions on one day, and 2 days for 8 questions. I remember I finished that exam, and I was totally exhausted.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, and we have to pass at least two parts out of 4 parts of the exam in order to be able to retain the 2 parts we passed. So I was very lucky. Actually, I passed the 4 parts, at one time. So that was something actually I always remember. I'm really thankful for that.
You mean day one you got all the answers correct?
Actually, there's no correct answer. It's mainly just essay writing. So you're writing 1 hour essay for 1 question. You have 8 questions to answer.
So as long as you showed comprehension and showed that you understood the problem and...
Yeah, it's probably more than that. For example, they will ask you about something. Okay, for example, could you talk about some recent articles related to earnings management? That means how CEO, CFO, or the corporations they manipulate their earnings. And could you talk about the recent research and what would be the future prospect in this area? So it's closed book.
So it's just all off of memory.
Yeah. So you have to mention at least like 5 to 10 research articles you remember with author's last name and years. And you have to remember what they say.
Wow.
Yeah,
And you didn't know what the questions were.
No, and you have to put everything together. And then you have to write something based on that. So 1 hour for one question like that, you have 8 of them.
So you got to start writing quick.
Writing quick, and also you have to prepare yourself very well. So I was like actually investigator before taking the exam. So I have all the different articles.
Oh, kind of like
on
a
the
wall?
board.
Like
Yeah, just
a spiderweb wall.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah, just link all of them together. So those were crazy life. Yeah. I remember that the night before the exam, I left the library at midnight. Okay, and I have a classmate who was from China. She was on phone, talking to her family in China, crying.
Because she didn't pass.
No, actually, that was the night before the exam.
Oh, just stressed out.
Yeah, just stressed out.
Wow. And how many students sat during the exam?
We have every year we have 4 students. Sometimes 3.
Wow. Oh, so this is like
The PhD level.
so.
PhD
The girl
students.
crying on the phone, you knew.
Actually, yeah, we're good friends even until today.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
this
yeah.
is kind of like a really close knit group of like,
Yeah,
we're all going
So
into
we're
this.
and the professor, I remember, he always said that we will wipe out 1 or 2 out of 4 every year.
Wow. So the 4 take it success rate of is like 50%.
Yeah, if we fail, then we have another chance. But if we cannot complete 4 parts in 2 settings, then we are out of PhD program.
Wow.
Yeah.
So and out of the 4 parts, that's the 8 questions.
8 questions.
So you had to pass. You had to pass 4 of the 8 or 2 of the.
You have to pass you have to answer 4 questions, at least 4 questions
Of the 8.
of the 8. Yeah, in the
Oh, so you could-
satisfactory
So you could
way.
punt a question if you didn't want to answer it.
No, you can. Yeah, if you
Like
don't
in
want to.
theory, if there's 4 questions and you're like, I know number 1, but number 2
no.
and 3 are hard, I'll wait till number
No,
4.
you cannot skip any question because 2 questions for 1 part. So 4 parts, you have 8 questions.
Oh, so you have to, okay, gotcha. So you have to,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's so you're full on, but like you said, it's mentally just exhausting.
mentally exhausted. Yeah.
So once you passed that, was that it? You got your PhD.
No, actually, we have. Then we start our PhD dissertation.
Oh, so that's the final thing you do. Dissertation's like a massive research paper.
Exactly.
book or
So
project.
after we pass the comprehensive exam, then we will be allowed to work on the proposal for our dissertation. So then our proposal will be reviewed and passed. Then we will be allowed to do the dissertation. So we are talking about,
And this is a span of what, probably 2-3 years?
well, actually the average time of length for an accounting PhD to graduate in the United States is 5.5 years. Most of the PhD, actually, they talk about PhD, usually they talk about 4 years. But in the accounting field, it's very rare for people to graduate in 4 years. I was pretty lucky already. I graduated in 4.5 years.
So that was just Kent State.
Actually, I'm talking about the number for the nationwide. For PhD in accounting, the average time to graduate nationwide in the United States is 5.5 years.
But that's 5.5 years in going for your PhD in school. That doesn't count your master's or undergrad.
It's just PhD, yeah. That's after
Wow.
master.
So really, you went 4 years of say bachelor's, 1 to 2 years of a master, and then you had could be 6 years on top of that.
Yeah,
So someone could be going to school for basically another dozen years.
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you come out at I'm 31, so you come out almost at 31 out of school, finally being like, I'm done school. You spend your 20s in school.
Exactly. Actually, that's even more than that's probably equivalent to a medical doctor. They finish their residency, and you're probably curious about that. Have you found that actually a lot of accounting faculty, accounting professors in the United States, actually they are not born in the USA.
Well, I mean, at Plattsburgh, I was actually talking with a friend of mine before, and she went to Plattsburgh. And the only person I know from when I was in school that was in accounting was Dean.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm assuming Dean, America?
Yeah. He's a lecturer.
But like
Yeah.
Dr. Gaber, I don't know where Dr. Gaber was from.
Yes. He was from.
He's in New York City.
He was from Egypt.
Egypt, that's right. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. This is what happened in the USA. Let me just give you an idea about this. Okay, I remember when I get my PhD, I got an invitation to a new PhD conference. So I went there. So I was just curious because it's all the new PhDs in the accounting field from the whole United States. So I look around, 80% to 90%, probably 80%, okay, of the PhDs, I'm very sure they are not born in the USA.
Was this now mostly Asian, or was this all over the world?
Actually,
You're talking Europe, Africa, South America?
Because I can only judge this one based on the accents, their accents. Okay, so I would say that a lot of people actually, they are not born in the United States. So they all speak English like me with foreign accents.
Yeah.
And I often think about this question, why there are not many Americans willing to become accounting professors. Now, one first reason probably because it's very tough, and you require a lot of math skills in the PhD level. Another reason is because a lot of American students, after they graduate from accounting program, they can enjoy their life as accountants already.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the CPA firms. So they don't really have to bother for becoming an accounting professor, because it's a hard road to go. So I respect those people who go through accounting program, and that means they really enjoy accounting as a profession.
Now, have you ever thought about doing anything privately? Like, do you do taxes for people? Do you do accounting for people? Do you do bookkeeping?
Well, I sort of that. Okay, I did that sometimes voluntarily for helping people, my neighbors.
Yeah, your friends.
Yeah. But I didn't really do that for getting another job. Okay, first of all, I'm not much into taxation. For me, those things can be done by software.
Like TurboTax.
Yeah, TurboTax, those things easily now. So I'm not that much into those type of things. Yeah, so I would rather reserve my time for doing something else, like writing research articles.
Now, so you do. I'm assuming you do your own taxes fairly well, right?
Well, personal tax is not.
It's different.
It's there are not too many tricks you can play with. For personal taxes.
But accounting in regards to like a business, like business accounting, that's stuff that you would dive into and like that.
Oh, business accounting, yeah, that's something really interesting for me. Yeah, especially managerial accounting. I love managerial accounting because numbers, when they are combined with the human motivations, there are a lot of things to investigate.
So managerial accounting, what is that?
Okay, basically,
in a nutshell.
Okay, for example, basically is how we use those accounting information to make decisions.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for example, you use accounting information to know that whether or not your business will be break even, and you have a business plan, and you wonder, will this business plan be successful in the future? Sometimes people think they are doing a good job, but if you have somebody actually looking over the business plan, somebody probably already tell you by mathematics, these things will not work out.
So one of the things I've been talking about, like about thinking and things like that, a lot of it comes down to, looking more at the numbers in the books and everything else, but then also looking at metrics and looking at, things that we can look at like KPIs, like performance indicators that can help us establish whether we should make decisions or, whether it be investment or reinvestment or whether it be, hiring, or whether it be, and all the stuff that ends up, you make decisions based off numbers. Because like I said, numbers, the cliche numbers don't lie, but they don't. They're black and white. It's like, and you see the numbers and it allows you, and obviously there's ranges and there's like, I'm sure it's not like it has to be over 100, but you could be like, well, 100 plus or minus a deviation or whatever, and that would give you kind of a comfortable range that something could fall in. But you could base decisions off of that and say, okay, listen, we're overspending here, underspending here. Maybe our conversion rate here is not very good. Now can we focus on that to bring that up? And then, but a lot of it does. Numbers are so powerful.
Yeah, numbers are so powerful, especially right now. A lot of people, they think that when a lot of kids, they think of accounting, they probably think of what? Bookkeeping,
Yeah, bookkeeping. I would think like
Yeah.
CPA, taxes, things like that.
Yeah, the bean counters, right?
Yep.
Yeah, right now actually, in the accounting field, actually, we're experiencing something we call accounting revolution now.
Okay.
Yeah, because when a lot of people frequently ask me these questions, saying something like, "Oh, now everything can be computerized. So does it mean that the accounting graduates will have no future?" Mm-hmm. Actually, exactly opposite. Actually, this is the best part of accounting. Just like for me, I don't like bookkeeping. Okay, bookkeeping for me is just boring. Just requiring a lot of labor, right? And it's not that creative. So
doesn't make you think.
I really think that the human power should be wasted on this. And thanks to technology, now we have a lot of software that allowed us to do this. QuickBooks, mm-hmm. and the bill.com, those type of things. So there are a lot of things you can do with those things. And so accounting graduates actually right now, they don't need to be bookkeeper. And they had better not expect themselves to be bookkeepers.
Because that would be automated.
Yeah, that would be automatic. And it's not a good idea. And so actually in the accounting field now, we really need people who are like researchers, like investigators. Just think about this. Everything they're automated. But how do you know those things they are done right? Can somebody manipulate the system and then do something evil to create false information for their own purposes? Mm-hmm. So now in the accounting world, the most important thing is, as an accountant, we have to know where the data comes from. And we have to know technology. We have to know how to audit mm-hmm. those information. And we have to know how to detect frauds. So now actually forensic accounting is a very booming area.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
And also in addition to that, for a lot of auditors, now they need to know a lot of things, not only just accounting. They have to know accounting, finance. They have to know a lot of other business concepts. And most importantly, they must update themselves with the newest technology.
How has, and I'm going from, again, I graduated college in 2011. So we're 10 years removed at least from that. And mm-hmm. depending when I took your classes back then, how has technology changed? Because, 10 years we've had, the amount of evolution within technology over the last 10 years is amazing, and it's not going to stop. It just keeps compoundingly getting crazier.
It's getting crazy.
So over the last 10 years, how has technology changed for you personally? At least with maybe in SUNY or just however you do research.
Yeah, I remember like 16 years ago, I met my colleagues, Dr. Elask, we talked about Excel at that time. Excel at that time was not as...
a little new?
Yeah, it was a little new. And I told him, I said, wow, this is going to be something in the future. Okay, so at that time, later we learned how to do the VBA programming mm-hmm. using Excel, those type of things. And then now, the technology, they are all over the place. Okay, for example, we talk about the database management, SQL. Okay, so there are a lot of technology out there, and depending on the purposes. And in the accounting field right now, there are so many options too. And we have artificial intelligence now, and we have automation. So all the things actually, they are growing rapidly in the following decade. So I would say that it already changed a lot in the past decade, but in the next decade, it's going to be crazy.
You just think that more technology is going to come into the fold, and is it improving accounting?
Oh, well, it's...
Or how does it, I guess I should say improving accounting, but has accounting evolved?
Exactly. We evolved. Think about this, a lot of things actually we were doing, okay, say 20 years ago, if you do accounting, you probably will come up with those accounting information. Then we will use probably at most Excel spreadsheet to do some calculation, right? Mm-hmm. Now, all the things, they are automated. They are sent to dashboard of the decision makers mm-hmm. with all the information linked to those things. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Analytics and statistics.
Yeah, analytics. Yeah. And also, there are more information that need to be analyzed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all those things now, they are automatic there. Okay. And they need somebody to come up with more information. And those things, they were done by a PhD like me 20 years ago. But now they are like a day-to-day operation for a college graduate in any corporation.
So basically, what was advanced back then is now just basics.
Yeah, now it's basic.
ABCs now.
It's ABC now, and they keep changing. Even for college professors, we are worried that we are left behind.
Because it's just evolving so quick.
Yeah, it's just evolving so quick.
So really, like, you got to keep your pulse on the industry.
Exactly, and also my advice for a lot of college graduates or college students is, don't worry about your major. I say major, they are important, but don't worry about exactly which major you are in. For example, somebody like you would say, I'm interested in business, but I don't know which major I should go to, accounting or finance or something else. I would tell the business students that it doesn't matter. Because once you are in business field, sooner or later, the borderlines between among different majors, they are blurred.
Yeah, they blend together.
Yeah, they're all blended together. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter. You just let your interest lead you toward those directions, because your future jobs, they are not even created today.
Yeah, and I had someone on the podcast yesterday, and she started her own business, and she's about a year in, and I was kind of talking about it because we started our own business. Like, people think, like, they see the stuff they see, like, maybe on the shelf or in the store, restaurant, whatever, but they don't see the hours behind the scenes that you're doing all this stuff, and you learn bookkeeping, you learn accounting, you learn the stuff that, you dive into it. And I'm going to ask you about this book in a sec, but, like, you start diving into stuff, and the whole purpose of it is like, you're trying to survive, but it's forcing you to learn this stuff. So the same thing, like, I went for supply chain management. I never went into the field of supply chain management, but I understand, the idea of, like, having to always improve the process and the systems, and being, making sure that you're efficient, making sure that everything logistically fits. And, and I think there's stuff I took away from college that applies to our company or my day-to-day world that I can look at and say, there's a lot of, we talk about similarities. There's a lot of things in accounting and finance. There's a lot of, what do they say, like, truths. There's a lot of things that are true in so many parts of business. You can strip down and really find, like, what's the common denominator amongst all these businesses. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are the same. And then you start, like you said, building up. Those are your building blocks. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of very common denominators amongst in life.
Yep.
That you build off of. In, like I said, relationships we talked about, but, like, numbers are numbers. You know what I mean? You can't change. I guess a quick question for you, and this is something I might have to do a Google search on. But who invented math?
Wow.
Because, and I wouldn't say math because counting, like I don't know, like, I have a pile of rocks. How many rocks do I have here? And then we got to figure out a way to count the number of rocks. So the concept of, like, putting numbers behind something, and again, this is something I'd have to research. So if you don't know, I
think that's a human nature there. Since the ancient time, people they trying to track down, for example, how many animals they hunt.
Yeah, I mean, there had to be some type of number counting, but then you start going into advanced numbers, calculus, anything that, like, when you start dealing into, like, standard deviation, start dating into to the certain power or square root of something, like, who came up with that, and the pi, who came up with pi, like, all these complex numbers that you would still look at and still, even though if you're not a mathematician, you're still understanding this stuff. Like, did the, like, Egyptians making the pyramid the way they did, or was that aliens? Who knows? But, the idea that, all this stuff came, like, I'm just wondering, like, who was the person or the civilization that just said, we're now going to start doing numbers?
I think those numbers,
they make it universal.
Yeah, they're very, I think it's not just one person invented that. For example, let's talk about pi. Pi, when we talk about pi, we probably think about pi is from the Western culture, right? But actually, the concept of a pi, similar, actually, the concept of pi actually was also available in Chinese history.
I was going to say Chinese.
Yeah, because they didn't really talk to somebody in the West at that time.
Yeah.
But because human, when we're going through the path of human development, and there was a time that we come up with something actually, simultaneously, but, during different stages. But there's something similar, in different cultures.
Humans in different areas of the world started coming developing the same.
Yeah, they
because people are people. Similar. They all think.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we're so similar that we all think the same at some level.
Yeah, basically we're thinking differently is because our environment or circumstances we have.
Yeah, the nurture aspect of
exactly.
life.
Yeah. For example, in Chinese culture, the most innovative time period in Chinese history was the time that there was many countries they are attacking one another.
Oh, you mean
the warring time?
What's that called when you go and you take a country? Starts with an E, doesn't it?
Yeah, like warring nations, you know.
Yeah.
So in ancient China, there were so many countries, and they attack one another. That was the time actually they invented a lot of things.
But that's when they got those ideas and cultures.
Exactly, those things from. Yeah, so human actually we are doing the same thing. Even we're developing in different places.
But I think that's what you think about. Like the United States is typically looked at as a leader in so many things, but it's a leader because everybody goes to the United States, and then like all the ideas are just jammed upon. You know what I mean? And that's
exactly.
You kind of like throw everybody together.
Think about nuclear technology. That was from Germany.
Yeah.
Yep. And there are a lot of things in the USA. They're from foreign countries too.
It's just fascinating when you think, because at the end of the day, if everybody's trying to evolve, then you should always have the best version of human existence always moving forward, in theory, because you should be bringing the best out of people at all times.
Yep, I think you know
as a collective, I should say.
Exactly. Yeah, I think in the past few years, actually, the United States actually was not too friendly towards immigration.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we actually in this country we didn't realize that actually a lot of people that come to United States, you know, they are not really stealing American jobs from here. You know, sometimes I was joking with my friends, say, look, in Taiwan, my government pay me to go to graduate school. Mm-hmm. My government spends so much money on me in Taiwan, but I choose to come to USA and work for this country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look around, for example, in school business of a Plattsburgh State, there are so many professors, you know, we are actually educated in foreign countries, mm-hmm. and then we came to the United States. So just think about it. Actually, there are a lot of resources actually the United States government saved.
Yeah.
By, you know, via the immigration, accepting the immigrants from foreign countries like us.
Yeah. My grandfather came from Ireland, so like, you know what I mean? So it's like you got to look at the immigration aspect of it. It's just that's how a lot of us ended up coming to be, you know? Like we got here somehow. I guess that makes me third generation.
Oh, third generation?
He was one. My mom would be second generation, I guess, so it'd be third. So now, in regards to Plattsburgh State, what got you to Plattsburgh State?
Well, that was funny. My first job offer was in University of Texas, one campus,
in Austin?
Yeah, actually no, it's Brownsville.
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't go there, and then I decided to go to Louisiana State University, and they were very kind to me because they allowed me to accept the job offer first, so they allowed me to spend one more year on my dissertation. So basically, 1 year before my graduation, I already had a job waiting for me.
Yeah, so that's a huge burden,
yeah.
or insurance kind of.
Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah, but and then I went there to Louisiana, and I worked so hard there. So I was teaching MBA programs there. I worked so hard, and then I suddenly think of, whoops, I am using my work visa. I need to apply for a green card.
Okay.
Yep, and then I check with someone, and they say, whoops, you are in trouble because I signed a contract with Louisiana State 1 year before I went there. And according to the immigration, I need to apply for green card in 1.5 years. And when I started my green card application, it already passed 1.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it turned out to be I was in trouble for green card if I keep staying there. So then I decided to go to the market to find the other jobs. So in order to start my green card process.
So if you took a job at a different college, it would let you restart the process?
Yeah, I would restart the process.
Okay. I was actually thinking if you came up to here because you could go to Canada, like if there's something where you had to like live out of the country for a certain period of time and then come back to the country.
No, I don't have to, but
okay.
I just have to get a new contract.
So that was purely the only reason.
That's the main reason
really
I left there.
Getting into accounting and getting to Plattsburgh State was just a lot of like, kind of like dumb luck that just happened. Like things that were out of your control and things you wanted to avoid and things that kind of, like you said, like the military. Well, I want to get into accounting to avoid the military. Now it's like Louisiana. Like, oh, I got to come up to some place to get another contract because you would have potentially stayed in Louisiana State.
Yeah, I could stay there, but when I decided to go for market again, actually I had like 4 job offers around that time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
4 job offers and 3 job offers. Actually, Plattsburgh gave me the job offer, which is the lowest in salary.
Really?
Lowest, yeah. And the other 3 schools, actually, they have the highest salary. You're probably curious about why I make such a decision, right?
Yeah. I mean, area maybe? I don't know. But like I said, it's cold up here, so maybe the other ones are a little warmer.
Actually, the first reason is, I really love this area. It's so beautiful. And it's close to Montreal. It's just 1 hour away. So I like to be in a place that is not too far away from the metropolitan area.
Yeah, and Montreal is a world city. I mean, I love Montreal.
Yeah, that's a great place.
Yeah.
And another reason, that's actually what Plattsburgh offer. I remember I talked to Dr. Gaber, who was the department chair, and now is a department chair too. And I talked to him, I remember in the hotel room for an interview. Supposed to be like a 15 minutes interview, but we ended up talking like 1 hour. So I'm talking to myself, like, okay, I want to work for somebody I love. So that was actually one main reason. And then I came here, I realized that this place actually is so friendly, and the culture for the faculty, actually, they are very, very nice, a little laid back, but not like many other campuses. They keep pushing people.
So do you find that maybe the more laid back was a complete 180 from what you had grown up with, a little more strict or a little more where you kind of were wanting that a little more relaxation?
Yeah, and is that relaxation feeling made me feel that this is something I want to be here, because I think I have a lot of pressures already in my life, and of course I will be a hardworking person anyway, but I just feel that I want a culture that will allow me to sometimes feel a little more relaxed, slow down.
And do you think that Dr. Gaber, his presence and he's an interesting, I got to get him on this because he's an interesting man, and I think he's one that if you collectively asked students, they would all have a very, very, very favorable opinion of him. And same with you. I think that out of all of my professors at Plattsburgh, it's funny that 2 of my favorite ones both came out of accounting, but I never went into accounting. But I enjoyed both of the classes, and I think it was the passion that both of you had for the subject. And I also think the one thing that you can people are going to hear this as you talk and everything else, but you made accounting fun. You weren't the monotone professor. You go through college and you hear so many monotone professors. I had a couple where I was like, oh my God, like I got to sit through this for like an hour and 15 minutes, and the person never raised or lowered their voice. They just talked like a machine.
Yeah.
And you were always excited. You would talk about it, and it's something as accounting to I would say the normal person is not a very interesting subject, or especially if you're going through and taking it as a college kid and maybe not in accounting, that it wasn't jumping out at you, and you made it fun and you made it interesting, and it was kind of one where like, I don't know what we're going to learn about today, but we learned about accounts receivable yesterday, and those were interesting, and like, and I found that, is that something that you take, that you focus on, is your delivery, or do you think that it just naturally happens with your excitement? And kind of what I was piggyback off what you just said with Dr. Gaber, do you think that his passion for accounting was a reason why you came here, and maybe why a reason you work so well or haven't left, because you guys just have kind of a good synergy there?
Yeah, I think it's the culture that allowed us to be ourselves. Okay, for example, in one of my positions before, sometimes I have colleagues, they are hostile towards me, but in Plattsburgh I don't have to worry about this type of thing. So here,
they're encouraging.
Yeah, they're encouraging me. And I remember one time actually, one student actually always looked mad in my class. I was like, did I do anything wrong with this person, right? And then I feel that my emotion was stirred, and I feel a little unhappy. So I talked to Dr. Gabriel, say, that person really gave me a lot of trouble. Whenever I see this person, I'm going crazy. And Dr. Gabriel just told me, why don't you just talk to him? So I thought to myself, I didn't think of that. So I talked to this person. Then I realized what's going on. And then the problem resolved. So is this positive culture issue that makes things very, very simple? in Plattsburgh. And I think it's contagious too. Dr. Gilbert actually told me a lot of things about the way he treats people, he treats students. So for me, I'm doing exactly the same thing. So when my students, they need my help, a lot of professors will have the attitude like, okay, I don't really trust you. And this person probably trying to find excuses. But actually, I found that if I listen to what they say, and I think more for them, actually, they will actually work harder for me. For example, one student, actually, she was like 2 chapters behind. And she talked to me and say, my life is crazy. Some professors might just close the door and say, you are flunked. Mm-hmm. But I talked to this person and said, I'm willing to work with you. So I adjust this person's homework schedules and everything. And this person was so grateful. And then she came back to me saying something like, without you, actually 1 year later, she said, without you, I couldn't even graduate.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was so happy for something like this because I know that I'm making some more impact on people's lives. This is, for me, actually, is more important than research. Because my research articles, I don't know how many people will read them. Maybe 300 or 400, maybe some citations. But, they are not like super top tier. But I feel that I can do more, actually, by working with my students to have impact on them.
Well, yeah, and I think from a human element, like I think most people, if they have a favorable opinion of people, a lot of it has to do with them as a person, not necessarily like what they learned from that person, but maybe, the support or maybe how they felt when they talked to you, or maybe take that example. Maybe that girl was down on her luck and said that, this is terrible. And I just feel like I'm, that the sky's falling, and here's someone that maybe that their initial conversation was like, this guy's going to hate me because I'm falling behind. And instead you took the exact opposite approach and said, well, here, what can we do? Let's find a solution together, teamwork. And let's,
yes.
And then I think at that point it was like, good, I can now trust this professor, and maybe this is giving me a little spark or a little bit of a boost of, just a little bit of energy or positivity that might have carried into some other part of her life, or maybe one of those problems completely disappeared because of something you did. Like those small, like you said, smiling at people goes a long way, and even like taking, like me, having been removed from college for 10 years and not ever have gone into accounting, I've only had great, like when I think of you and I saw you, they had posted that you had won the distinguished teaching profession, or whatever what they gave you, the SUNY chancellor. And I remember looking at that, I'm like, well, that's a guy I know deserves it, just because, and this is 10 years later, but I was still like, thank God, like that's awesome that he got it. And I hadn't talked to you in 10 years. And I was so excited that you, and again, you kind of, when you walked in, it was funny. You said, I remember your voice. And which I thought was funny because I'm like, oh boy. So I think some people know, like, man, he must have talked throughout college too. But I think, like I said, you still have an impact and you remember that, but you remember the positivity, you remember the people that are exuberant, and they, and I could see, to me, your passion overflowed the material. Like it was like you made the material fun, but you also, I think, passion and positivity translate to students to take into their own lives, into something they're passionate about.
Yeah, actually, when I prepared a lecture, actually, I need to come up with a lot of stories behind the thing. Because for me, numbers, they're just numbers. Mm-hmm. If you see those numbers, they are just code. Mm-hmm. They're code numbers sitting there. But how can you make those things alive? So for me, I need to make a lot of stories, and they are parallel to those numbers. So that's the way to make those numbers so interesting in class.
So good segment, because I want to get to this before we wrap this up. Is so. Of course, I'm trying to look at, and it was kind of funny, is I had taken accounting, and I understood a few things. I understand terminology a little bit. Like I remember the accounts receivable, accounts payable, dividends, balance sheet. I remember you used to have a jingle to remember songs and things like that. Yeah. So, like, again, I still remember this. I don't remember the actual song, but I'm like, this guy had a jingle for us to remember the song. And balance sheets, everything's got to always be, the liabilities and your assets equal your equity and liabilities. Mm-hmm. Look at that. I still know. Again. So good job.
Good job.
It's stuck. But the whole idea was, you had always made it fun. So then I was sitting there. And I'm like, okay, I got to start to dive into more of the numbers. I want to start getting to the numbers. So I have a business coach. Again, same thing. Like looking for someone to help me and coach. It's kind of like coaching for sports, but coaching for business. So she's actually the CFO of a pretty massive organization.
Oh, okay.
So
whoa.
Yes. So of course I'm sitting there and I'm very open and I'm very what's the word? I'm one of those. I'm like, listen, I don't know what I'm doing. Teach me. I'm
Okay.
open because I want to get better. So she goes, the best book I ever read on accounting was this book called The Accounting Game,
Wow.
which was basically basic accounting, fresh from the lemonade stand. I'll give it to you. You can flip through
Okay.
it. But
Okay.
basically, what you talked about, it's a story. Now, I full disclosure, I'm like 5 pages into it, but it's breaking down accounting as like dumbing it down to you're running a lemonade stand. So for the layman person like me, who has very limited knowledge of accounting, I'm thinking like this is fun because it puts it in a perspective of like, all right, like the first few pages, like what was your initial cash investment? Well, I have $10 in my pocket. That's your initial cash investment. And then it's like, okay, but you got some money from your parents, so that's a loan. And then you start like, okay, and you got to pay your parents back by the end of the summer. So then you start learning about the concepts of them that you could bring into the real world. And you can find parallels, but I just thought it was funny. It's so simplistic. It looks like the Charlie Brown lemonade stand, or not lemonade stand, but like the psychology booth or whatever what Lucy used to run. But it's just this very generic lemonade stand. I used to sell lemonade as a kid, but it was the idea of all the stuff that came into it. So does this look something that would be helpful?
Actually, this is exactly something I would be looking for as a student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
because
figure
it's
it almost
so natural.
it dummies it down to the point where it's like, because again, it's intimidating. You start throwing around these terms and people are like, oh my God. But if you put it down in this sense, you're like, well, here's a real world application. Very simplistic. Most of you probably sold lemonade on the side of the road as a kid.
Yeah, actually, accounting is not that difficult at all for me, because, if you stick to basic, and then you have everything expanded, actually, it's not that difficult at all. A lot of people, actually, they feel frustrated because they didn't stick to those basic stuff. They didn't. A lot of students, I found that they got into the mode to cram those knowledge too early.
Yeah.
They treat accounting just like history books. They have to
learn it and forget it.
Yeah, learn and forget it. Yes, but it takes time for us to absorb this type of knowledge and make them make sense in our brain.
You also want to. And this is why, again, in my business, when I talk about like autopilot, like why is buying and selling real estate for me pretty much on cruise control? Because I figured out the basics of real estate enough. Because like you learn the basics, and the basics gives you the basic understanding naturally.
Yep.
Then you build upon that, and you build upon that, and you build upon that. And it gets very complex.
Yes.
And then what happens is it gets complex, and then your mind's all over the place. I'm like, well, what's the next? What's next? But then I find that if you could take it, same thing as like simplifying a math problem, you simplify it back down to the basic level again. But having gone to that outer limit of like understanding all the craziness and all the nuances and all that, but then stripping it down and like, okay, I know that exists, but let's go back down and focus on what really matters. I find that by learning that, any problem that comes to me, at least in my industry, I find it like a funnel. Price is Right, Plinko, when they drop it, it goes around and goes down to it hits off all the little disc hits off everything. I find that my problems, I say problems, but things I have to work through in real estate, it's like you throw it into a massive Plinko funnel and you drop the disc down and it goes and it hits off everything. But at the end of the day, it funnels down to like 6 or 7 different categories. So really I'm gotten to the point now I can take pretty much any issue or problem and I can strip away, I know what to focus on. I strip away all the fluff that doesn't matter and I really come down to the basics, and then I have a solution for that basic, or I have a solution for the root problem of that, where that might not be the actual problem, but something else is causing that. I'm guessing that's you in accounting. Is you've been able to, all the stuff, but you can strip it down to like, these are really the things you got to worry about in accounting.
Exactly, because there are a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff, they sound cool. A lot of teachers like to put something on an exam. They want students to cram those knowledge. But those things, actually, nobody will remember 2 years later. Actually, in recent years, I totally changed my methodology for teaching. I flipped my classroom already. Okay, let me tell you, I used to lecture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but now, actually, I record everything with my video, PowerPoint video. So my students have to watch my video, and then they will come to class for the quiz. Then we will work on a lot of questions, and then also work on many case studies. So that's for the traditional classroom. And for the online courses, actually now I don't even require my student to take the exam closed book, because those are adult learners. Many of them, they are working in accounting firms, and they come to SUNY Plattsburgh because they want to learn. So actually, I have them take the exam open book. So with open book exam, I give them complicated questions to resolve in the homework and assignments and the quiz. So that's a lot of fun.
Well, the other thing too is very rarely in life are you going to have to rely on memory for certain things. Like if you had a problem like in accounting, if I have a problem in real estate, I will go on the computer and I will Google it. I will ask questions. So for me, I'm a problem solver. I figure out how to solve problems. Same thing with you. I like to think, I like to learn, I like to solve. But if I was to sit there and you say, Galen, take the same thing. We take people as new agents come on, they have to take this New York State test to pass to become a real estate agent. Now, it's an absolute joke compared to what you had to do with what you've talked about for accounting, but it's still the idea that you're causing people to remember stuff for a test. And I tell every person, I said, remember it. I said, just remember it for the test, and you can forget 98% of what's on there because it doesn't, not going to apply. And I said, what you need to do is work the case studies. You have to find real world examples. You have to be out there in the field. You have to be in the trenches, actually learning it. And then finding all the similarities and being able, like you said, the spider web of everything, connecting the dots and like how does cause and effect and what's the relationship and correlation and figure all this stuff out. Where like opening a book and having someone have the answer, they still have to figure out and make the connection to that answer. And that's understanding, like you said, the basics and the how to. Not you got to memorize this because memorization's got. But if you learn the concept, you'll understand the concept and take it with you.
Yeah, because now we learn the basics, and keep in mind that this world is changing rapidly. So a lot of things actually we try to memorize, they mean nothing in the future. But the basics, they don't change. For example, accounting equation, they will never change for 300 years. Okay, so if we stick to the basic, and then we become independent thinker, which is actually better for our students in the future. So I don't require my students now to cram those things, but I want them to be able to say, okay, I forgot something, but I know where I can find it. And I know that I can always come back. And then when I come back, I pick it up very quickly.
Yeah, and there's got to be, when we go back, there's got to be certain truths of accounting that never change. Like the one I just said, like assets always equal liabilities plus equity, right?
Yep.
So that never changes. That's a truth in accounting.
That's true in accounting. Also, there are some basic concepts. For example, how to recognize revenue, right? So, you cannot recognize the revenue too early if you don't really earn it. Yeah. So all those type of things.
So the accounts receivable wouldn't really be earned revenue yet because you're still outstanding. Or accounts payable.
Okay, accounts receivable, they might be earned. Yeah, they are earned actually. So that's right. Because you earn, you can bill people.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's something like that. Okay. So there's something like that. They will not change. And let me just give you some example. When I took my CPA exam, I took a bunch of exams. Every time I studied the same material. 3 months later, if you ask me about the same thing, I couldn't remember anything. I just forgot it. Yeah. But for me, I don't worry about it. Even somebody asks me, I forgot it, but I don't worry about it because I know that I can always go back and I will pick that up very quickly.
Yeah, because it fits in the concept of all the basics.
Yeah. So the most important thing is that conceptual framework in our brain is not the details there.
Yeah. And the thing is, all that stuff clouds the what you should be focusing on.
Exactly.
Kind of gets in the way. It's a shiny object. It's like I want to go. It's kind of like the sexy thing out there that looks cool, but then at the end of the day, it's like you said, go back to basics. It's like basketball. It's like you got to know how to dribble. You got to know how to make a layup. You got to know how to hit a foul shot. You got to know how to box a guy out for a rebound. Yeah. But then everybody wants to do the cool behind the back passes and stuff like that. Well, it's like you can cut a guy and do a little kind of shimmy and pass it off, and it's gonna be just as effective and have a much greater chance of effectiveness versus maybe a turnover. Yep. In basketball terms, but it's so it's kind of don't get too fancy for the basics kind of deal.
Exactly.
So, Jason, I appreciate this again for time. We went a little long, which I'm fine with. I enjoyed listening to you, but you have not changed. I think you're the same guy I remember.
Thank you.
And actually, question for you: I had your son. He used to do spelling bees, right?
Yeah, my son was a spelling bee champion twice.
So this was a few years ago because I remember seeing I might have been in the paper or on the news or something. And I saw it holy, that's Jason. I remember, again, I hadn't seen you in a while, but then your son was oh, that's so cool that your son was good at spelling bees. Yeah, so again, he's just a smart guy.
Yeah, he loved reading and he really enjoyed those things naturally. Yeah. So yeah, and I'm very proud of him.
Do you think he's kind of a chip off the block? He's very similar to you.
Well, I actually I feel that he's smarter than me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every parent probably looking for that, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean that's a good thing, right? You pass it on.
Yep. And my grandpa. I didn't mention that my grandpa was a professor too.
Oh, so you have a little bit in when your mom's a teacher, so I mean
Yeah.
you had the gene in you.
Yeah, my grandpa actually came to United States in 1930, and then he returned to China
Okay.
to establish some programs over there. And my father actually ran away from home and joined the Chinese Civil War, and but he joined the side that lost the war, so he escaped from China to Taiwan. So I never see my grandfather in my life.
And because he was still in China.
Yeah, my grandfather actually died in 1966 because
before you were born?
Yeah, because he spoke against Chairman Mao.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a specialist in entomology, so he spoke against Communist Party, and because Communist Party actually around that time, their policy result in millions of people's death.
Yeah,
So my grandfather actually criticized Chairman Mao, and then he got sent away and died somewhere.
Well, I think, and that's the thing that we don't understand in history. I don't. I have no like. You hear about it, but you just don't realize how crazy other parts of the world are. I'm like, and I always look at. I'm like, it's 2021, and things are still being done or treated like ancient times, and it's like it's insane to me that it's like people. Like they have just never evolved, like in certain things.
I know, yeah. People are, yeah. I have to say, yeah. There are a lot of burdens on people. I mean, on people's minds too.
Yeah.
You probably think about it. How can people really get free? With our mindset. Yeah. I'll tell you another history that is very interesting. Do you know that Korean War?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
From history. Yeah.
General MacArthur was fired by President Truman, right?
I didn't.
You didn't know that because he was too ambitious. He wanted to cross into China.
Oh, go through.
Yeah. After he pushed North Koreans to the north
of North Korea, does that go right to China? Does it border China?
Yeah, it's border China.
There's no country in between.
So when he was to the north of North Korea, so he wanted to keep going into China to have conflict against the Red China.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember that around that time, actually, President Truman has an argued with him, and it turned out to be President Truman did not trust General MacArthur because he wants to limit the Korean War to a regional war,
Mm-hmm.
not a total war against China. So he fired General MacArthur, but General MacArthur has an agreement with our leader in Taiwan at that time, who was Chiang Kai-shek, who was a dictator. And made a story short. Before General MacArthur was fired, our leader sent like 500 paratroopers into China already to prepare for the landing.
Of the U.S.
Landing of Taiwanese troops, because U.S. will go from north.
Mm-hmm.
Taiwanese army will go from south.
To kind of squeeze it?
Yes, to squeeze it, yeah. My father was the second batch of the paratroopers.
Wow.
Yeah, so my father was almost sent to China. So because of General MacArthur was fired, so my father actually has a chance to stay in Taiwan.
Wow, because that was it. That shut down that whole plan.
Yeah, it shut down the whole plan.
It's crazy. I mean, history and war and stuff, when you start like go back, especially it's what was that, 70 years ago, something like that, and it seems like a whole other world, but it's only 70 years, and that's a blink of an eye in regarding human civilization.
Yep.
It's been, I mean, like I saw this thing was like the United States is basically 3 generations long. Like that's it, because it's a very young country.
Yep.
So you think in the grand scheme of things, like Taiwan has been, I mean, how long have people been living in Taiwan? Thousands of years. Most likely, right?
Yeah, go to just like USA too. We have native people too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's insane how old these places are before they became. At least us, we're a very new country. Like it's not, not. Yeah, I mean, it's just insane to think about. And then you think about all the stuff that didn't happen that long ago. And even just since I left college, how much the world's evolved in 10 years. It's like, holy crap, like things just go. Because again, time doesn't stop. It just keeps moving and things happen and people do stuff. So, but Jason, I appreciate you coming on. It was just great listening to you. I enjoyed you talking about accounting. We talked a little bit about it, but like I said, you as a person, I think it was more interesting. And
me too. Yeah, I'm so excited to share my accounting knowledge with you.
It was good. You did a great job. The fact that I'm getting books like this to relearn it is just the fact that I haven't done it in 10 years. But when I left the class, I knew accounting fairly good. Like I understood it. I could read it. And the thing is, when I'm going through this stuff, I understand the terms. I know what the terms are, and looking at it, it's not foreign to me. It's just it's a refresher.
I think it's exactly the point of education. Actually, I'm glad you say that because that means my teaching was successful.
Yeah,
because after you're done with the course, you probably cannot remember a lot of things, but you love it. So you're not afraid of pursuing it.
No, I'm actually, I know this sounds nerdy. I'm actually looking forward to reading this book. Like I know it sounds crazy. Like I showed my wife and she's like, oh, that's great, honey. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's like built like a lemonade stand and I get excited about it. But because part of it is like, it's going to help me solve a problem and I get excited about it. So then I want to dive into it and flip through it and like figure something out.
Yeah, I feel that you will definitely be successful because what I can see from you is you're the person who always know how to ask the right questions.
Yes, and I found out early, even in college, and I'm the kind of person, if I go to, most people don't do this, if you go to a store, I instantly find the person that works at the store and just like point me in the right direction because I want to get out of here. Like I want to get in, I want to get my thing and get out. I don't want to like wander around like looking down the aisles and try to find what I need. And same thing, if I don't know something, I think one of the things that I've done pretty well over the last 10 years or even longer is I find people that I know more than me. And then I listen to them, and I don't go in with an ego, meaning I know I'm not, like if I talk to you about accounting, I'm not going to preach to you about accounting because I'm going to be like, Jason, tell me everything you know, and I'm just going to take notes, and I'm going to think, and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to hear your perspective on it. And I think by opening myself up to learning from other people and just realizing like I'm not, I don't know everything, and I don't know a lot about a lot of stuff. I know a lot about a very, very small amount of stuff. And to me, my ego is not, I'm fine knowing I don't know it, but I know I would love to learn it. And then I find people that are really good at it because one, it saves me time and it's a quicker path to success. You talk about the efficiency, but then two, I could learn something, but I could ask you, but you have the years and years and years and hours of knowledge that you can find the problem or again, you could simplify it down even further and say, well, I'll be like, yeah, but doesn't this make sense? You're like, it does, but because of this, and this, you'd want to change it. And I might not have that. I don't have that peripheral vision within accounting to see that, and you do. And that's why I would look at you as like you are an expert in accounting. Therefore, if someone needs to know accounting, talk to Jason. Don't fake it. Like go talk to someone that actually knows what they're doing. And the other thing too is I found that people that know stuff want to teach it, want to give back. And if someone came to you and had an accounting question, you would love to spread that knowledge to somebody else. It's not going to be like, don't talk to me. You're going to be like, oh yeah, what do you want to know? Let's go into it because you're excited to teach.
Yes, and also, I think that, to be a good learner, we need to be honest.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I need to be honest to tell myself that I don't know everything. So when I let go of my ego, then actually I will be doing a better job in learning, and I will be able to teach people too, because I know that I'm not perfect, and so I will not be arrogant talking to people.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is you dissect what you don't know. I talked about like last week, like learning. I spent more time trying to figure out what I don't know than what I do know. And a lot of it was, where am I weak at? What do I need to improve on? And it wasn't, not because I'm like negative self-talk, but I'm a realist. I'm like, okay, you struggle at this. You struggle at accounting. Let's learn. Let's focus on your weaknesses and let's really try to get that better. And then if I don't know something, who do I need to ask, talk to? What resource do I need to get? What do I have to read? What do I have to watch? Like, let me learn that. But again, it comes down to things that I think I'm insufficient or below average or below the level or below where I want to be. And then how do I bridge that gap to get me to that level or beyond? And again, a lot of it is, like I said, being honest and being open and being vulnerable to yourself and saying, you know what, you don't know that. Like go figure. You can figure it out. Like self-talk, you can figure it out. But you got to. Number one is admitting that you don't know something. So it's like, I don't know that, but it's going to put me in the pathway to learn it.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot of stuff from YouTube too.
YouTube?
Yeah, by watching YouTube.
Oh, I watch YouTube all the time, every day.
Yeah.
I've watched something already today on YouTube.
Yeah, it's yeah. So I would say that if someone cannot tell themselves that I have no resource to learn, actually, probably they have to blame themselves nowadays.
Google and YouTube can teach you anything on earth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anything on earth. And
a high schooler probably can become a computer programmer without going to college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because those things, they're all over the place.
Well, a lot of them are.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about like people that come up with stuff and create stuff, and like they learn and they figure it out, and you know talk about kids learning stuff. Like, how did that kid learn that? I'm like, because he put his time into learning it versus playing video games or whatever it might be, or instead of just like playing on his phone and scrolling Instagram, he went on and learned some kind of skill that he could get for free, just as you or I could. I could become an expert in accounting, but I have to have the passion, and I got to be able to want to do it and put the time in. There takes work, but if you really focus on something, there's still a skill level. You still got to be able to comprehend it, but it's still the idea that I know for a fact today, if I wanted to dive into that, if I focus on 10 years of really learning accounting, I can get really good at accounting in 10 years.
Oh, actually, just in 1 year, you'll be very, very good.
Hopefully. I mean, because I would rather do, like you said, rather do it in 1 versus not 10 years. Save the 9 years. It's like I'm taking your Kent State approach of like, let me just get in and get out. I don't like that. So.
Yeah, it's position yourself as learners. So now actually I don't treat myself like a professor anymore. I have a job title that sounds crazy, but beyond the job title is actually nothing important than students' experiences. Mm-hmm. So actually now I position myself as a person who put the resources together for somebody to learn.
And I think when you start talking about like the why you do something, when I got into real estate, I talked about a means to the end because I hadn't figured out a bigger reason of real estate. To me, it was transactional. It was like I do it, I get money, I be able to pay for stuff to live, and that's it. And then I got to the point of, wait, I can use this platform to affect more people and to affect them on a scale and be someone that could bring that knowledge to make their life easier in some regard. And that's the same like your college. It's like I'm not just teaching you the ABCs of accounting or the 1, 2, 3s of accounting, but I'm going to, like you said, package it in a bigger scale where it affects you on a broader scale than just, hey, this is how you got to schedule your balance sheet. Because you can, at the end of the day, someone can Google how to do a balance sheet or
exactly,
YouTube.
Yeah.
You putting it in the framework of the story or making them actually learn that's the human element of Jason that's important.
Yeah, I you probably don't know that I spend time sometimes to go over the exam with students. Mm-hmm. But when I go over the exam with the students, I'm not just tell them this concept you make something wrong. Actually, I sit down with this person and say, how did you study?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the root cause.
Exactly. Yeah. So I will know how this person treated study, how this person study, and why this person end up in a situation like this. So I would love to actually provide them more guidance for that. I feel that that's actually more important than just the knowledge itself. Mm-hmm. So I often tell the student, I say, if you remember what I tell you today, and to correct some of your study habits, then you will not only good in accounting, you'll be good in everything.
Yeah.
So I love to do that.
But that's the parallels between life.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right, Jason. Okay, this last one I do promise we'll end it here for you. So I appreciate you coming on. If anybody wants to reach out to Jason, we'll put some stuff in the show notes. But again, he's at SUNY Plattsburgh. Is your office in the new Osable building now?
Yeah, in the Osable 217. And the best way to reach me is by email.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll add your email if somebody wants to reach out.
Yep. I check my email very frequently. Yep. And you don't hesitate to ask me any questions. For example, if your kids have a question about college, I'll be happy to answer. Mm-hmm. And somebody want to become accountant, okay, or a CPA, I'll be happy to give you some assistance.
And knowing you, I know that is something you would absolutely do. And the last thing I'll leave you with is the building you're in now. They started building my last semester of school. It was the parking lot, the old parking lot.
Yeah.
So I used to always like drive by. I've never been in the building before.
Well, you should be there. Yeah. Not many students there now.
I know. I should just I know I could just go walk in, but I've never been there. And I took all my classes. I took your class in, I took your class, I believe, in Red K.
Yes, in Red K.
It was Red K?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to say Hawkins. It was Hawkins or Red K, but I'm pretty sure it was Red K. You took a right, you went around the corner, and you were in the right side of the building, and there was a spot there. And I remember, you walked in, the door was on the left, the seat was in the right, and then the board was on the right of the door. I still remember the classroom that I took your class with.
Yeah, that's a room without any windows.
You're right. Yes, You're right. It was just and I took your class. I think it was like late afternoon. I think it was like a 3:45 to 5 class or 3:30 to 4:45. It was one of those, like, it was an hour and 15 twice a week. But it was always like the late afternoon class. And I believe I took it in the fall. So it was kind of like you were going in, it was dark out. It was like kind of a weird thing, but you always made it upbeat. So we didn't feel like it was like, oh God, I got to learn about accounting when it's pitch black out. So Jason, again, thank you so much. We're going to end there. That is episode 172 of the Galen Trombley Show. Thanks for listening to the Galen Trombley Show. If you want to reach me, you can go on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. The spelling, GaelanTrombley.